Good evening, everyone. Before calling this public meeting of Council to order for December 2nd, I would respectfully acknowledge on behalf of Council and the community that the City of Pembroke resides on the unceded traditional territory of the Algonquin people. We thank the generations of people who have taken care of this land for thousands of years. It is with the statement that we honor and respect the Algonquins on whose land we reside. So I'll call this meeting to order. Are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest in relation to this item on the public meeting of council? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion for the approval of this agenda, moved by the Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Keel. Those in favor? That is carried. Next one is under new business, one item, Community Improvement Plan Update. This meeting has been called to consider the proposed update to the City of Pembroke Community Improvement Plan, which was last adopted by Council on August 9th, 2016, in accordance with Section 28 of the Planning Act, RSO 1990, as amended. Madam Clerk, would you please report on how notice was given?
Notice was given in the Pembroke Observer and News on November 13th, 2025, and has been posted on the city's website since November 12th, 2025.
And I believe we have Ms. Sutherland here this evening, as well as the consultant. Did you want to bring us into the matter, Ms. Sutherland, or?
Thank you. Yeah, so I'm happy to have Anita here from WSP, our consultant working on this project, who will provide an overview of what this project entails, what changes are being proposed, and how we move forward with this.
Thank you. So if you wanted to take it away for us.
Sure, thank you very much. I will just share my screen. Okay, just confirming that everyone can see that.
Nope. Thank you.
Okay, great. So good evening, Mayor, members of Council, city staff, and any members of the public that may be in attendance tonight. My name is Anita Sod, and I am a registered professional planner with the consulting firm WSP based in Ottawa. I have been acting as the Deputy Project Manager and the Senior Planner for the city's Community Improvement Plan update. And together with our Project Manager, Nadia DeSanti, who also assisted the city in developing the original CIP in 2016, we've been working with Ms. Sutherland since August to refine and expand the existing CIP. Nadia and I were last before Council on October 7th to introduce the project, and I appreciate the opportunity to provide an update in this meeting. So my presentation will review the purpose of tonight's statutory public meeting for the public and the overall purpose of the CIP update, as well as an overview of the work and the community engagement initiatives that we've undertaken. I'll present the final draft vision and goals of the CIP and an overview of the proposed financial incentive programs in the CIP document, and some key recommendations with respect to implementation and monitoring of the CIP as well. So as noted, it is the statutory public meeting this evening under Section 28 of the Planning Act, where we are presenting the final draft of the Pembroke CIP and where Council will receive any public delegations regarding the CIP update. I will also be highlighting changes made to the final draft CIP following the receipt of community feedback at the public open house that we held on November 3rd and the interviews that we held with members of Council in November. So as a refresher for members of the public, the purpose of the CIP update project is to review and confirm the city's community improvement project area, where the updated CIP will apply, and as well to review the financial incentive programs in the existing CIP. We are proposing that the updated CIP would continue to apply across the whole municipality in terms of the entirety of the City of Pembroke's municipal boundary, to maximize its reach to potential property and business owners. And as part of this project, we conducted a scan of recent Ontario municipal CIP programs to understand the program options that municipalities, specifically in Eastern Ontario, are offering, but also across the province, to ensure that Pembroke remains competitive with its CIP while reflecting the local community improvement needs. We also reviewed which existing programs in the current CIP should be continued, modified, or removed, and we have proposed a series of new programs to be added. The new programs are tailored to the community needs and priorities that have been communicated to us over the course of the project by city staff, through members of council, and through feedback at the open house, and which were also provided to the city through a separate business survey that was undertaken as part of the recent business retention and expansion project. So in brief, we've undertaken the CIP update this last quarter in 3 phases, beginning with preparing a background report to set the foundation for the CIP update, followed by preparing the actual CIP document in stage 2 and presenting it for feedback at the open house on November 3rd and through council interviews. We're currently in the 3rd and final phase, and following tonight's public meeting, the CIP will be finalized and is anticipated to be brought to council for consideration of adoption in January 2026 by city staff. So based on our discussions with city staff, council, the city committees who have reviewed our deliverables, and feedback from the community, we have updated the vision statement in the CIP as follows. The City of Pembroke is a strategically located regional service and cultural center with a proud and prosperous business community, a vibrant and attractive waterfront community with a beautiful downtown, a destination for tourists, and a place to call home. This statement is supported by a series of goals that aim to reflect the key community priorities, which are intended to be realized through the community improvement projects that would be funded in part by the CIP financial incentive programs, as well as the city initiatives and municipal projects that would be undertaken on public lands and spaces over the lifespan of the CIP. So the goals are detailed in the CIP document, but in brief, they include improvements to key infrastructure, strengthening Pembroke's waterfront through redevelopment projects and partnerships that service residents and visitors, encouraging continued revitalization downtown, enhancing streetscapes, supporting affordable housing and diverse housing options, promoting the cleanup and redevelopment of brownfield sites, and prioritizing enhancements to accessibility and community safety. All applications made under the CIP would be reviewed to ensure that they contribute to the CIP vision and goals. As I mentioned, the draft CIP was presented to the community at an in-person public open house on November 3rd, and it was attended by 6 community members, including business and property owners, the executive director of the BIA, and a representative of the Pembroke Active Living Center. The small group did allow for a really engaging dialogue on the draft CIP and its proposed programs. And in recognition of the feedback that we received, there were some key updates made to the final draft CIP, including a specific example and reference under the accessibility grant to the stopgap temporary ramp project as an option that could assist with interim accessibility improvements at main entrances for certain properties in Pembroke, as well as the inclusion of bicycle racks that we heard as a desirable eligible project cost under the newly proposed commercial and industrial property improvement grant. Key updates to the final draft CIP resulting from our great discussions with Councillor Lafreniere and the Deputy Mayor included a new section under the municipal leadership recommendations of the CIP to recommend that the city encourage downtown businesses to participate in a future pilot program to expand business hours seasonally, either through the holiday season or perhaps on Sundays, as well as the continuation of the Win This Space program that the city has previously participated in to offer free rent to a business located downtown. And we've also added performance indicators to be monitored over the life of the CIP, including the number of housing units created and the number of direct and indirect jobs that would be created as a result of community improvement projects. I will now provide an overview on the changes to the financial incentive programs in the CIP. So consistent with our recommendations that we presented to Council in October, we continue to propose that 2 of the existing CIP programs be removed. And these are the Affordable Housing Study Grant and the Project Feasibility Study Grant, as these 2 programs did not receive any uptake or application since the CIP was adopted in 2016. We're proposing that 6 existing programs are maintained, including the Planning and Building Permit Fee Grant, the Tax Increment Equivalent Grant, the Downtown Housing Grant, accessibility grant, brownfield property assistance program, the environmental site assessment grant, and the facade improvement grant, which would be combined with the heritage facade improvement grant. These grants have received uptake over the years, not all, but significant uptake on some of them. And we've also reviewed and updated the grant values to reflect increased construction costs since 2016. 9 new financial incentive programs are proposed, which I'll go through momentarily. I did want to mention some general details about the administration of the programs. So applicants can apply for multiple programs, most of which can be stacked, other than the tax increment equivalent grant, as this would be a potentially higher value program. In addition, language has been added under the programs in the CIP to make it clear that multiple applications for the same program and for the same property may be made if there has been a change in property ownership or the previously completed improvements have reached the end of their life cycle and need to be rehabilitated. So for example, if there's a property that was successful in obtaining a prior facade improvement grant and had the works completed, but that property has changed ownership over the years and a new business is coming online, that property and that applicant would be eligible for another facade improvement grant under the CIP. And each year, the funding of the 16 proposed financial incentive programs contained in the CIP is at the discretion of council, which means that not all of the 16 proposed programs may be open for applications and receive funding in any given year. This would be decided by council based on annual priorities. So the new financial incentive programs proposed include a municipal surplus land disposition grant, which would permit the city to sell and dispose of municipally owned lands that have been declared surplus at below market value. And this would usually be administered through an RFP process with a call for developers. And currently the city's webpage advertises 10 available surplus properties. So these would be eligible for the disposition grant or any future properties that the city would declare surplus. We are also proposing 3 new housing-focused programs, including an additional residential units grant to assist with the costs of constructing these units on lots that already contain a single detached, semi-detached, or townhouse dwelling. And this would be in accordance with permissions under the Planning Act and the city's official plan and zoning bylaw. Also proposing an affordable housing grant for the construction of new affordable units on either the upper stories of existing commercial or mixed-use buildings or as standalone residential buildings, and a multi-unit housing grant for new residential developments that have 5 or more dwelling units. And I did just want to mention that the definition of affordable housing that is proposed to be used and applied in conjunction with the affordable housing grant would be the definition of affordable in the provincial planning statement 2024, and that is based on the Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation definition. So the definition generally refers to annual housing costs which are less than 30% of the gross annual household income for low and moderate income households in Pembroke, with those low and moderate income households making up the lowest 60th percentile of households. And the province publishes the specific affordability rates for market housing and for rental housing for each municipality in Ontario in the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing Bulletin, which was last updated and is available online on August 1st of this year. Continuing with the newly proposed financial incentive programs, we have also proposed a commercial and industrial property improvement grant that would assist with interior and exterior improvements to commercial and industrial buildings, which could assist with costs that we have heard would be beneficial to property and business owners, including interior renovations, paving, and other costs. And we've also proposed a crime prevention through environmental design grant, which would assist with the cost of installing site security improvements, such as cameras and their associated hardware, lighting, and fencing, which has also been stated as a concern of property and business owners in the city. Again, based on property and business owner needs that we've heard about, we've proposed a new energy efficiency and emergency management grant to assist with energy efficiency upgrades, the potential installation of small-scale renewable energy systems like solar panels, and specifically backup energy production through generators during emergencies, which would allow commercial businesses to keep running during power outages, whereas they would otherwise face quite a large revenue loss potentially. And lastly, we are proposing a new sidewalk patio and pop-ups grant to allow for the seasonal use of city sidewalks and on-street parking spaces for patios and pop-up retail spaces. And this would be in accordance with an encroachment agreement entered into between the applicant and the city's planning and building department. And we're also proposing a standalone signage improvement grant, which is currently a project cost that is eligible under the facade improvement grant, but we're recommending that it be broken out into a separate program and also made available for home-based businesses. Regarding implementation of the CIP, we do recommend that the city's existing CIP administrator and the review committee would continue to receive and review applications. And application intake is recommended to continue on a rolling basis, which we understand from Ms. Sutherland has been working well to date. So we're not recommending a designated application intake period. Council would establish the annual budget to fund the CIP programs through its annual budget process. And this may include allocating funding to some or all of the available programs under the CIP, again, depending on annual priorities. We will also be updating the city's application form as part of our scope of work, which will be provided as a fillable form that can be completed by applicants online. And the CIP also includes recommendations for methods through which to market the CIP. With respect to monitoring the uptake and the success of the CIP over the recommended 10-year lifespan, we recommend that the city keep track of approved value of financial incentives in total and by program, the construction value of completed projects in comparison to the value of the grants that have been issued, any new housing units that have been created as a result of the projects, and new indirect and indirect jobs created as a result of projects to the extent that this could be measured. Property tax assessments of subject properties if tax assessments have been prepared as part of the CIP process, and before and after photos. And we also recommend that city staff prepare an annual monitoring and evaluation update to deliver to council to present the CIP results on an annual basis. So to conclude, the next steps in the CIP project process include preparing the final CIP to reflect feedback received tonight and from the ministry's review comments. Following this, city staff will bring the CIP to council for consideration of adoption in January or early in the new year. And with that, I'd like to thank council for the opportunity to provide an update on the proposed CIP. And of course, I'm happy to answer any questions and look forward to hearing any public comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sott. Ms. Sutherland, has anyone indicated any comments in respect to opposition or in support of this particular matter?
Not prior to this meeting, no.
Is there any members of the public that are in the audience this evening that wish to speak in respect to this particular item? Yes, if you want to come forward and state your name, where you reside.
Okay.
And
Thanks for the
use,
CIP,
well, come
yeah,
forward
yeah,
to the
okay.
microphones because the people at home
Okay.
can't hear you, nor can the consultant.
Okay.
If you indicate your name,
Yeah, okay.
where you reside, and then
Okay.
provide your comment.
People that know me, I'm Kevin Anderchek, born and raised in Pembroke, property owner, taxpayer. Thanks for one thing caught my eye when I was looking at it, this Energy Efficiency Emergency Management Grant. Now, can I apply for a grant to get a backup generator for my house? Or did it hit the?
Your comment, or it's a question?
It's a question.
So does either the consultant or Ms. Sutherland wish to address the question of the
Oh, okay.
resident?
Do I have to hit the microphone? It wasn't on. Oh, okay. Yeah, okay.
Okay, so we have your question, so I don't know whether the consultant or Ms. Sutherland wishes to address the question
Okay.
in respect to that particular grant.
Okay.
Sure, I can speak to that. So the intent of the CIP
Yeah.
is to support commercial and industrial
Yeah, no.
spaces, so not for residential.
Oh, okay,
updates.
just that it caught my eye and just thought, because I have two paper routes, and one of them was talking to a lady, she has one of those backup generator systems, she's got Petawawa. They paid about, I think about 18,000, which is good, that's what I'm looking for my house. You understand what I'm saying? That's what that caught my eye in this, I thought, So,
Okay.
that's pretty well it, so if that
Okay, thank you.
lady's still on the screen there, I'm just wondering if I can apply for a grant.
And so what Ms. Sullivan is saying as to who it's available to, so not residential.
Is there somebody else I can talk to get a grant for that? Like
And so-
Ottawa, Toronto?
And so perhaps tomorrow, if you contact City Hall, staff can see what they can do to point you in the right direction, but it's not through this particular item that we're addressing this.
Okay,
this
thank you,
evening.
Ron. I'm just.
No problem, no problem.
Okay, thanks anyways. Thanks
No,
for helping me.
thank you.
Okay.
Is there anyone else in the audience that wishes to speak to the item? Seeing not, is there any members of council that wish to address this particular item in the public? Ms. Summers?
Sorry. Okay. I'm Thea Summers. I'm the Executive Director of the Pembroke Business Improvement Area, and I'm a resident of Pembroke as well. I just wanted to say that I really hope that council, moves forward with this. I went to the open house, and it's knowing how it's been beneficial to the downtown businesses over the past 10 years, and with the new improvements to it and the new options, I really think that it's a great return on investment for the city, because I know that the building owners and the business owners, when they get that little bit of incentive to improve their business, they go above and beyond. So I just wanted to give my 2 cents and say that the PBIA fully supports this new CIP.
Thanks so much. Okay. See, I have to see through Councillor Giacono to see. It's all good. It's all good. Okay, sorry about that. Now, is there any member of council that wishes to address this particular item? So I have the Deputy Mayor and then Councillor Lafreniere.
No, I just have a comment, and I want to thank the committee and staff and the consultant and the public who provided input. This draft update covers all the key areas, and we've heard about affordable housing, we've heard about brownfield development and community safety with the cameras. So I think it covers every area. When I was overseas from 2013-18, I followed that council in that period, 2014-18, and they brought in the community improvement plan, and I could see all the work and listening to the media, all the work going on downtown. And then my first term on council, 2018, and being on the PBA, how businesses take advantage of it to improve their property. And so this is excellent update, and really excited about this, and I'm confident council will support it, and it covers all the angles, and I'm very excited about the new phase once it gets rolling. So thank you.
Deputy Mayor, Councillor Lafreniere?
Thank you. I love the bicycle racks idea. I think that's great. One way of promoting active living and people coming to our downtown. I wanted to know how you're going to enforce, and I think I brought this up when we met personally, when you were here and interviewing me, the affordable rent. It's one thing for a developer to say, yeah, I'm going to build some affordable units, and then we give them the grant, but how do we enforce it later to ensure that they are charging affordable rents and staying, in that prescribed 30% of income? Because, I think there was a couple of different models, and thank you for saying that we're following the provincial planning strategy. But how would we enforce that? That's a question I want to know. Also, for home-based signs, the grant, are we going to come up with the criteria? Would it have to go through a site plan, make sure it's set up right before? I guess that's a whole new thing that would have to start. I guess for each one of these new grants, there would have to be a list of criteria I guess. That's a whole work for our staff. So the only one I'm a little bit apprehensive about are the permit fees for development. Because we went through a lot of discussion here around this table about fees and raising revenue. And I can see if a developer's coming in, but if he gets his fees covered and then he gets other things covered, I don't know. I mean, should that be only if they are doing affordable affordable units? I don't know. I just think, that we're trying to raise money in certain areas, planning one being one. So I'm just not 100% sure of that one. But I commend you on everything else, and I wondered if you could answer my question about enforcement for the affordable housing.
I'll just speak first to the home-based business signs. So those provisions already exist within the requirements for home-based businesses. So there wouldn't be any additional work required on staff to create that criteria. It already exists. So it would just be a matter of ensuring they comply. But I'll pass it over to Anita to answer your other questions.
Yes, thank you, Heather, and through you, Mayor. Thank you for your question, Councillor Lafreniere, and I appreciated the discussion we had in November. It was very helpful to inform some updates that were needed to the CIP. So to answer your question, we have recommended that, well, for any CIP financial incentive program that would be awarded, the applicant would enter into a legal agreement with the city to basically protect the financial interests of the city and also the applicant. And it's not part of our scope of work to develop that template agreement form with the city, but it would be something that would be developed with the municipality's legal counsel. And we are recommending and including in the CIP that the minimum duration that units have to be maintained as affordable would be 10 years. And I can tell you, we did receive comments from the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing that are recommending the city consider increasing this requirement to 20 years. So that is something that we'll be discussing with Heather. But in terms of the requirement for the applicant to maintain the units as affordable, they would have to, based on the agreement that is entered into, provide annual proof that the units are being maintained as affordable rents over the course of the leases that are signed with individual tenants. So we've specified in the CIP document that the lease agreement would have to be provided to the city annually with the names of the lessee or the renter and the affordable rental rate amount that is being charged annually to that the person that's living in the unit, along with copies of checks from the renter that prove that the rent paid is matching the rent that is specified on the lease. And if for whatever reason the owner of that building and who received the successful grant does not abide by the rent being maintained as affordable, there would be a clause in the agreement that would be developed with legal counsel that would require them to pay back the grant amount, whether it's the entirety of the grant that was received or a portion equivalent to the rent increase. That's up to the municipality to determine with the applicant and their legal counsel. But that is the recourse that would normally be in place with a grant like this.
Thank you for that. So yeah, I mean, I'm all for affordable housing and promoting developers to take that avenue. And I definitely support them also qualifying for a permit, free permit fee or the grant. I'm just still questioning on other developers. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Councillor Lafreniere, other members of council wish to? Councillor Giacono?
Thank you, Your Worship, and Anita, thank you for the very comprehensive report, and also to Ms. Sutherland for working together. Anita, have you been to our community? I'm just curious. Have you been to Pembroke? I have a question for you. I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but
I have been, Councillor, yes.
Very
I worked
good.
on the city's zoning bylaw review back in 2020, and
Very good.
I visited the community several times this year as well.
thank you. The connecting link that brings people off the highway into Pembroke links to McKay Street. You pass the hospital. And my question is this, as you continue down McKay Street, you encounter some pre-19th century homes that have been built there, rather stoic, very beautiful facades. Some have been converted to apartment buildings. But all of these, for one block, have this beautiful limestone fence, which in its heyday, was built state of the art by stonemasons or whatever, but they're falling into disrepair. And it's such a shame, that we have these homes that look like mini castles, and people come here to admire the architecture, but yet, in fact, in front of these beautiful homes, you've got these fences where pipes are falling out of the limestone fence. And if you're here next time, you'll probably see them. It's just disheartening to me that perhaps is there any funding, for repair of this type of a fence, which speaks to our historic integrity. We're celebrating our 200th anniversary in a year or two, and if you're going to invite guests to your community and they're driving by a fence that was built by a craftsman, and you see pipes hanging out and the deterioration of the stone, it'd be beautiful if there was some funding available to repair those, to bring them back to their historic state. Is there any availability of funds, or through any grant, or through this particular CIP program? Thank you.
So is the question, Councillor Giacono, in reference to the CIP, whether or not it would be advantageous or possible, or is it just you're going to pick Ms. Sott's?
Well, I'm trying to pick her brain a little bit, but I'm just saying, community improvement program also deals with historic aspect, does it not?
Ms. Sott, do you have an answer to Councillor Giacono's question?
I can attempt so, yes, Your Worship, thank you. So Councillor, the CIP would not be eligible for individual residential properties within the city of Pembroke. It is intended to be applied to commercial properties or new residential developments that have multiple units that really increase the tax base and spur economic development in the city. So just as the gentleman earlier that asked about the individual backup generator for his home, the CIP would not be able to fund individual property improvements for residential homeowners. So I'm not sure if the limestone fencing is on private property or if it's on public property within the city's right-of-way, but it could certainly be identified as an infrastructure improvement that the municipality would undertake to complement the CIP, because I'm well aware of the contribution of heritage attributes to a municipality and its tourism draw and its general aesthetics and appeal, which all contribute to a CIP success and drawing people into Pembroke. So I appreciate that rehabilitating certain historic attributes is really a priority for this council and for many municipalities across Ontario. But under this CIP, it would not be an eligible cost unless it was associated with exterior improvements to a commercial building.
Thank you. It's rather sad that, we're spending all this money trying to promote other portions of our community. And the first thing you see when you're entering our historic downtown core before you get there is a dilapidated, historic type of fence, which and I'm not putting you on the spot. I know if you don't have the money, you don't have the money, but perhaps there may be other grants, historical grants that could be made in unison with the homeowners to bring their property up to not a standard, but to bring it back to its historic beauty. And I mean, it really bothers me. I mean, I've lived here all my life, and my wife, and we notice that as residents. And if you're a stranger, I think you would notice that firsthand coming into a community, say, look, wow, they got a great downtown, but what's happening with this, beautiful heritage type of fencing? Shouldn't they have repaired that? It's sort of it's like the city of Kingston. You go there, they've got beautiful, Princess Street, all those areas, historical buildings. There seems to be an input to keep everything cohesive. And that was my question. I hope I didn't throw you off. Thank you.
Fair enough.
No, I appreciate that. And I just wanted to clarify that the Municipal Act and the Planning Act establish the authority for municipalities to develop CIPs, and the Planning Act specifies what CIPs can fund. And community improvement is defined in that act. And so unfortunately, individual repairs and rehabilitation to residential properties are not qualified projects under a CIP.
Thank you. Councillor Keel, did you wish to speak to it? No. Councillor Frenier, give you a final word. That I'm going to.
No, I'm fine, I withdraw.
Okay. Just from the chair, just to indicate that I'm ecstatic about this change to the CIP. Members of council will know that prior to 2016, we had a very, I'll call it junior type of CIP program, very junior. And so 2016 was huge. It was a huge step forward, allowing the municipality to do things that it wasn't able to before. I know that at the beginning of the term, having mayor's breakfasts and so forth, there was certainly a lot of discussion about enhancing the CIP program, one of them being this SEPTED grant, different business owners saying, look at, can you not provide a grant that allows to look at cameras, lighting, and so forth? So I'm just very pleased with this. Certainly, we know that the current grant system has a huge rate of return on investment, and so I suspect that this will be phenomenal as well. And just to remind members of council that when we're doing budget, we have to properly fund it. There's some huge increases in terms of the CIP program to make it more advantageous for business owners, but you need to provide those funds, or else, the CIP program is only going to be able to do what it can do. So with that, if anyone wishes to have any further dialogue with Ms. Sutherland, I know her door is always open, and with that, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn this matter and the public meeting of council, moved by the Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Jack, and all those in favor. We are adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I'll call this Planning and Development Committee of Council of December 2nd, 2025 to order. Are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest and general nature thereof? Seeing none, we required approval or amendments to the agenda. Moved by the Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Keel. Those in favor? Carried, thank you. The approval of the minutes of November the 4th, 2025 of the Planning and Development Committee. Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Fernier. Questions? Those in favor? Carried, thank you. Any business arising from the minutes? Seeing none, we'll proceed. This evening we have two presentations. One is a presentation by the Pembroke 50 Plus Active Living Centre with their annual report. And I believe that we have Connie Ball, the president of the Pembroke 50 Plus Living Centre organization. Welcome, Connie.
Thank you.
And who is accompanying you?
Paula Selkirk, our secretary of the board.
Very good, welcome.
Thank you.
Floor is yours.
Thank you. Good evening, Chair, Mayor Jervis, and councillors. My name is Connie Ball. I am the president of Pembroke 50 Plus Active Living Centre. And as I said, I have Paula Selkirk with me today, and we're here to present our annual report as required. Pembroke 50 Plus Senior Active Living Centre was incorporated in March 1975. We have been residents of our current location at 42 Renfrew Street since 1977. And we've seen many changes since that time, including name changes, conditions of memberships, expansions of demographics, and of course, our funding. The SLAC program is established by the Senior Active Living Centres Act of Ontario, which defines the SELC program's purposes to promote active and healthy living, social engagement, and learning for persons who are primarily seniors by providing them with activities and services. The ministry is responsible for the overall management, stewardship, and oversight of the SELC funding and program delivery, and this includes setting policy direction and program funding while ensuring that operators such as us comply with the terms of the transfer payments we receive and with the SELC program guidelines. Through our partnership agreement with the city, we provide a variety of programs and activities to support Pembroke's senior ratepayers and community members. We are incorporated and as such must have proper governance in place. Our board of directors is currently in the last year of their term, and at our annual general meeting for next year, elections will be held accordingly. Next slide, please. Our mission statement, along with our values, are focal to everything that we do at the center. Next slide, please. As of November 24, 2025, our membership totals 466. Of those, 25% are men, and our average age remains between the 70 to 74 years of age. As you can see, we continue to have some opportunities in the 50 to 65 age group. Next slide. Oh, that one. Yeah, good. The City of Pembroke, in our partnership agreement, have identified programs which mirror the ministry's requirements. The last column under activities is the list of the activities, services, and programs which the center offers to satisfy our obligations and to ensure our members are receiving the activities that they are interested in and that meet our strategic objectives. We review these activities on a regular basis, and of note this year, through the Ottawa River Transit Program, we are now offering limited transportation services. Next slide. Last year, we noted that we offered minimal activities and services regarding the health and wellness program category. And to rectify this, we established Wellness Thursdays. The sessions are meant to provide the audience with information on a variety of health topics and allow opportunities for questions and answers so that individuals can make informed decisions or just generally understand where to look for assistance. These sessions are open to the public, and while they started out slowly, we are now averaging between 25 and 35 participants per session. We also received many suggestions for topics, which we are pursuing, and we've received lots of great feedback on this new program. Next slide, please. Our center, of course, would not be able to offer the programming it does if it weren't for the generosity of our volunteers. Of our membership base, approximately a third of these members volunteer in one form or another. We have volunteers who perform office administration duties, some work regularly at our teas and luncheons, some help fix things or help with setup, and some bake goods. From January to December, from January to September, we have logged over 5,000 volunteer hours. And while we have improved our reporting mechanisms over this year, there are still lots of improvements to be made. So we expect these numbers to be a little on the low side. Next slide, please. A review of our programs required that we review our space utilization to ensure we were getting the maximum benefit we can. In this slide, you'll see that I have mapped the activities that we provide against the areas of the building where we use them. There are other areas in the building that we use for programs and activities, such as our computer room and the upstairs kitchen, but these are mostly used for special offerings. The tax program and general swing space for our volunteers, as we have very limited admin office space. The upper main is used primarily for our physical programs such as exercise classes and yoga. Wednesday and Friday afternoons are left open for special events such as in-house dining, seminars, and meetings as an example. It also allows for us to have a little flexibility when crises arise. The lower main, as you can see, has very little flexibility. And this area is also the traffic area for folk to get to either upstairs or into the kitchen, so it can create quite a bit of disruption to the classes that are in progress. We also use the lower kitchen quite a bit to accommodate the smaller groups such as canasta, chess, and crafts, but keep in mind, it is a kitchen. Next slide. This slide provides the participation in our activities over the last few years. As you can see, the increase in the number of active participants is increasing year over year. Just as important as our volunteers are our community partners. They assist us in various ways, including funding, advertising, food service support, programming, teachers, instructors, and mentoring. I want to talk a little bit about 42 Renfrew Street. We welcomed the Accessibility Committee to our facility this summer. They did a tour of the building and noted a few areas requiring some fixes or adjustments to ensure that areas in and around the building allowed for proper accessibility. We are awaiting the final report. We also welcomed a building inspection visit to note areas of concern, particularly around energy efficiency. And some immediate repairs were provided, such as repair to the front entrance, emergency gate changes, and upgrading wiring to the kitchen areas. Many thanks to the city staff for their prompt attention to some of these more pressing safety issues, so we really appreciate that. The lift, though, is one area that is concerning to us. The lift is a two-person lift which allows those requiring assistance access to the upper floor of the building. It was installed over 20 years ago with funds the centre received from a Wintario grant. And despite being tenants in the building, the centre also has been paying the annual maintenance costs of over $1,000 annually and any repairs required to the lift. So during the last recent power outage we had about a month ago, the lift became inoperable. I did, by the way, report it to Paul McLean, and Paul immediately did what he needed to do. So again, we appreciate that. But it did require a maintenance call, which resulted in the lift not being available for 2 days and at a cost to the centre of approximately $900. At that time, the maintenance person provided that and pardon my interpretation of it, I am not mechanical, but the mechanics of the lift were obsolete, and should the internal workings fail again, it is unknown whether the internal workings could be repaired. Without the lift, the building's upper main is not accessible, and without access to the upper floor, programming and activities are limited to those requiring assistance. As mentioned, the centre is a tenant and not the owner of the building, so responsibility for the facility's operational costs should rest with the city. This is a public building, and as such, it is expected to remain accessible and properly maintained for the benefit of the community. Covering these expenses is therefore a municipal obligation, not one that should be borne by the centre. And costs for fiscal year 25-26 for the lift, including the annual maintenance agreement, were around $2,200. Next slide, please. The amounts you see on this slide are the budgeted amounts for the fiscal year 2025-2026. We at the centre operate on a fiscal year commencing 1 April. So we receive approximately 60% of our funding from grants. This has not changed considerably. The balance comes from membership fees, donations, and our fundraising efforts. Our membership fees are $25 annually, and we now have a special on whereby you can purchase the balance of this year's membership for $10, assuming that you purchase the $25 membership for the follow-on year. The ministry provides us annually with $55,000, up from last year by $5,000. We receive the grant quarterly. And thank you to the City of Pembroke for the increase for the increase this year to $12,400 annually. We appreciate that. We apply for every possible grant we are eligible for. This year, our special grants went towards the purchases of a new energy-efficient freezer and badly needed new photocopier. We expect to receive almost another $3,000 from the federal income tax program in our contribution to the Canadian Volunteer Income Tax Program, in which we participate in. And this program is available to all Canadians who meet certain criteria as laid out by the government. Last year, we processed upwards of 400 returns. All other revenues are on track. Oh, could you go back to the, thank you. Rent to the city escalates every January. Last year, the rent increased by 2.5%. Repairs and maintenance include an annual cost for various minor repairs such as washroom fixtures and, of course, our annual charge for the maintenance of the elevator, with the additional $900 for the special repair that was not budgeted for. We are constantly on the lookout for creative ways to generate more funds and to reduce expenses, but it's getting harder and harder to make any more reductions. We do expect to be in a very small positive position this year. Next. So we are excited about our future. Issues that we have to consider as we venture forward include the shifting demographics, it's on the slide. So as we move forward into our own budget and planning season, we would really like to ensure that what we are providing and what we were expected to provide as part of our partnership agreement with the city is actually known to us. We would like to meet with either the Recreation Committee or the Director of Parks and Rec to discuss how we can mutually provide older adult programming to the community. Further, as you can see from the presentation, we have very little opportunity to expand our daytime programming in our current location. We are going to try again this year to establish some programming outside of our current operating hours, but that brings with it other issues that may not be able to be resolved at this time. And therefore, we respectfully request that the city consider providing the center with access to municipal assets and resources, or alternatively offer reduced or flexible pricing structures tied to the cost of membership. This support would help ensure that our center remains affordable and accessible to all older adults in the community, while also strengthening our ability to deliver inclusive programming and services. Thank you.
Questions of council? Councillor Kale?
Is it possible to bring up the revenue and expenses page, Sean?
Slide 12.
There you go.
So our grant last year was $12,400, which was some sort of increase, I believe.
$4,000, yes.
$4,000. And we charge you $14,550 in rent.
Correct.
I find that a little disappointing. Obviously, budget is coming up, and I'm assuming that's partly why you're here and why we focused on that. I'm not going to lie, it's going to be a challenging budget. The elephant in the room is it's an election year budget. Maybe not so much an elephant as the entire room. I find that a little disappointing personally, that we can't just at least cover the rent as an in and out. Ironically, one of your other questions was the use of other facilities, and Councillor Lafreniere and I just shared a note back and forth where I literally said, in lieu of additional dollars, is there any reason that we could not offer community space in the PMC or PACC at no charge for so many dollars a day? So that was, if you saw a little laugh between Councillor Lafreniere and I, that was one thing where we just kind of said, can we not? So we don't have anybody from Parks and Rec here today, but I'm wondering, Dave, if we could do an analysis of whether we could offer some of that space, because most of your programming is during the day, and I believe we have people in those facilities often during the day, so I'm wondering if we could do an analysis of what we may be able to offer that's that's there and not being used. Like I know the PACC has a fairly large activity room. I don't know how much use it gets. I know it gets rain barrels at least once a year, but other than that, I don't know how much use it gets. And then the PMC, of course, has the bogeys area at the end. So I'm wondering if maybe we could get some thoughts on that from Parks and Rec through you, Mr. CAO. And then, have we gotten a quote for a new lift? Because I got to be honest with you, that one I wouldn't even know where to begin.
So, no, we have not at this point. We can pursue that, but my understanding is that the infrastructure itself, like the physical lift itself, is sound. It's the mechanics that make it move that or have obsolete parts and structure in them. So it's not hundreds of thousands. It's probably tens of thousands. But my understanding is it could be upwards of to $30,000, something like that. But I haven't done anything formally. I can.
Okay, because the first thought that crossed my mind is I think we just did a cost sharing with Kiwanis on their lift in their/our building at Riverside Park. So I think in terms of that one, I would agree with you that the lift is of critical importance. I don't know how else you would describe it other than critical importance. So from my perspective, if we could see some numbers, then maybe we can figure out how or where to go from there, and whether we have any community partners and maybe some fundraising and some stuff that we can look at to try and figure out how to go about that, because obviously it can't fail. It's a critical aspect of the senior center, and we'd frankly be at a hobbling senior center if it were to not be there. So I don't think that's an option, my personal perspective. So I mean, obviously we're going to have some discussions on budget next week. I don't know if we can get stuff that quickly or whatnot, but certainly I'll have some thoughts on the amount of our grant to the senior center. My thoughts, I think, will be in a positive direction. But other than that, I just want to thank you for the great work that you do, even though you won't let me in yet. I'll get there one day. But no, the work that you do for our seniors, I mean, I know I've attended one of the talks to speak on wills and powers of attorney, and I know you do the tax preparation. Another program that I heard from outside of you, I think dealt with like dealing with electronic phones and stuff like that, which somebody was telling me was I believe the word they used was a godsend, because if I remember the story correctly, their two grandchildren had gone off to university, and there was nobody back here at home to assist them with their stupid phone, I think is what they described it as. So I mean, the senior center is of vital importance to the city of Pembroke, and I'd love to help out as much as we can. We might be in the Christmas season, but I can't say that we're going to be Santa Claus here, but I certainly would like to help in ways that we can. So if we can get some information from the city and from you, and let's try and come together and see what we can do.
We appreciate that.
Thank you, Councillor Kale. Deputy Mayor?
Thank you, Chair. First of all, welcome, and congratulations on 50 years.
Thank you.
Big party this Friday at the Legion.
Big party this Friday at the Legion, yes.
50 years. When I was a kid, I went with my mom and dad to a function. There used to be where Shuttles Cafe was, where the iVision place now. There used to be seniors drop-in center there a long time ago. Anyhow, Councillor Purcell, I volunteered at the Tea, Victoria Tea, a few weeks ago, and talk about teamwork. The volunteers, just like clockwork, to put that together, and always sells out. It's a major fundraiser, and also the teamwork cleaning up, and just very impressive and a lot of fun. I know my wife and I are members, and I can't get over the number of programs you have. the diversity. And now I'm learning about this Wellness Thursday, 25 to 30 participants. And we met in the summer about transit, and you purchased 120 vouchers. So, especially in the wintertime,
175.
175, they can take advantage of the transit to and from the center, leave their car at home, or if they don't have a vehicle. So that's great also. I have a question. Mika Mahood was here, bless her soul. She passed away a few years ago, former president. And I think she told us, I could be mistaken, but the rent is part of the funding for the grant. You have to be charged rent in order to get the grant. Is that not? Is that?
I know what you're driving at, but it's not the rent, not specifically the rent. There were other things outside.
Okay.
And the CAO and I are meeting on that on Thursday.
So it's not a showstopper that we have to charge you that much rent, that amount.
The amounts that you're talking about
Yeah.
are outside of the rent amount.
Okay, so that it could be lowered, that amount, that rent.
That rent could be lower,
Okay,
yes.
right, that's good. And the lift, I know you'll be have you looked into grants for the lift? Nothing available now to fix it, maintain it?
Well, that's a conversation that I think collectively we
Right.
need to have. It's not our building.
No. Okay. And down the road, when you're talking down the road, I mean, way down the road, would you envision a facility on one floor,
Absolutely.
as we talked about?
Absolutely.
Okay,
Absolutely.
right. So thanks again, and
If I might, just to
Yes,
extend
go
from
ahead.
something that
Let's go ahead.
Councillor Keel talked about, it's not just necessarily about location. I mean, we tried to inquire last year about use of the horseshoe pits down at Riverside, and we'd maybe like even to consider some pool time for some like aquabics or some kind of
Right.
aquafit something or other. So it's not just necessarily physical space. And the other consideration that we have is back to the demographics in our current construct, our 50 to 65 who are still working, older adults, we can't accommodate them during our working hours. So we have to find some flexibilities outside of that. And again, I don't want to do that in isolation. I think because of this partnership agreement that we have with the city to provide senior programming, we'll facilitate it. But it's not ours, and I think it would be to the benefit of the community if collectively the city and the senior center came together to discuss what that is, so that we're not replicating services across the city, and that we all stick to our core mandate, because resources are scarce everywhere, including here and us. So I think there's lots of opportunity. In my past life as a comprehensive auditor, I know there's lots of opportunities for more efficiency. I know there is.
right,
We just need to get to the table together.
right. And everything you're doing, the volunteerism, the active living fits into the findings of our active living plan that we just finished last year. So coming together and everybody working together in partners. So thank you.
Thank you.
Worship, and then Councillor Bernier.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So thank you, Connie, for the presentation. As Councillor Keel says, we're about to venture into the budget as a council, with staff having taken a lot of work since probably about August in terms of the particular budget. As council knows, is that it's not only the senior center that you're here representing, there's also the other senior organization as well, and trying to find equity between those two different ones. I agree with you in terms of efficiencies, working with the rec department. It's not only the recreation department, it's also the library as well, and just trying to ensure that there isn't a whole lot of duplication, because at the end of the day, the city of Pembroke is providing funds to your organization, the other organization, to the library, and if there's duplication, that doesn't serve the ratepayers very well that way. In terms of the lift, just a quick comment, and the deputy mayor knows this one, is that the library had serious issues with its lift, and given the age of the building, it was not feasible to replace this, if I can say it this way, the structure of the lift, but it was the mechanical devices that makes the lift work, and so that's ultimately what the library, through the library board, ventured into doing, is replacing the guts of it, if you will, but leaving the shell. So from the public's perspective, nothing changed, but it very much changed the mechanical portion of it to make sure that the lift functioned. So that's, I suspect, what would have to happen there, because it's not like, in terms of the field house of installing something brand new and you can build whatever you'd like. It's trying to work within what's already there. So, but again, thank you for your presentation, and that helps us whenever we're moving forward with budget next week.
Thank you, Your Worship. Councillor Fournier.
Thank you. Thank you for presentation. As Councillor Keel said, we do have some space, but unfortunately, if it's working seniors, 50 to 65, it would be at night you would need it. And most nights during fall and winter, we have hockey. So the facilities we talk about, you know, it may not be desirable, because that space at the PAC is probably used for people, you know, getting ready. But I mean, I know that your, I guess, cousin group, Laurentian Valley Fit and Feisty, I know that they get church basements and they get other facilities involved. Now, what I'm wondering is if you could meet with Jordan, he is the Director of Recreation. I know that we partner with you already in some events. I think we fund some of your activities through our recreation budget. We have a line that's for seniors specifically. Maybe you can talk about the facilities we have, and maybe, you know, that budget could be used in part to fund some of the locations you need to rent, if there is space.
We would
required.
love to have that conversation.
Yeah, so
I have been asking for that for quite a while.
Yeah, well, he is a busy man, and it's just a matter of us, well, I can request it. And I mean, I'm the chair of recreation, I could sit in on that meeting, just to see how we can, yeah, like you say, make the most of what we have. And if we don't have it, maybe we can help you find it and fund it through our recreation budget that we have for seniors.
We would welcome that meeting.
So something like that.
Absolutely.
Now, like I say, we're going into budgets, and I was under the impression, and someone else just said that around here, I think it was Deputy Mayor, that our grant to you did influence the grant from the province. Because I believe the Francophone seniors group was the same thing. They came asking for so much money one year and said that their grant depended on how much we gave them. So I'm
Your
just...
mix, we can talk about this offline,
Yeah,
if you would
okay.
prefer, because there's a mix here of apples and oranges and probably apricots in the middle of all of that. There's
Okay.
about 3 different things, the way that it works.
Okay.
And so you've got a little piece of it, and the deputy mayor has another little piece of it, and then there's a big chunk that's missing. So what you see up there
Mm-hmm.
has nothing to do with past history.
Okay,
That's our operating budget, period.
okay. One final question. $25 a year, and I know they pay extra depending on what the event is, the activity is that they're taking part in, but when was the last time that was put up?
A couple of years ago. And the Ontario, we belong to an association with the acronym of OACAO, which I always get wrong, but it's Older Adults Center or Older Adults Community Association of Ontario, something like that.
Okay.
And funnily enough, they just put out a survey of their membership across the province as to what the average costs of memberships are. And right now they're running anywhere, so from the correspondence that I've received back, they run anywhere from $18 to $26 per annum.
Okay,
So we review that on a regular basis. If you want to know how our structure works, all drop-in activities have an activity fee that it's $1 for each activity. But for those that we have to secure a paid instructor for, i.e. our Tuesday night yoga classes, those are fee structured. So but you do have to be a member, but you pay an additional fee
Yeah.
on top of that.
that's what I figured. So when looking at this, I know that we do need the lift, I mean, obviously. But I don't know if we can incorporate some kind of capital reserve in your budget, that it wouldn't be just the rent coming to the city, but a portion of it would go into capital instead. So it would assist us anyway. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, instead of $14,550 to the city, maybe that would be reduced to 12.4, but you'd continue to contribute, and maybe we would match that contribution to capital. So that's what I'm kind of thinking is, I know we need it, and I know it is a city facility, but if somehow we can rejig those numbers so that the city is
That'll
actually.
be budget, I guess, at budget discussion
Yeah,
time.
we'll
Yeah.
be looking at that at budget. Okay, that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Connie and Paula, thank you. I'm amazed at the 5,000 volunteer hours that are put into your organization. If you had to pay those people, it wouldn't be in existence, you know, so kudos to all the volunteers in the community. The ones that don't come out and shake their flag and say, hey, look at me. They just do the job and kind of meld into the background. You had made a statement that perhaps, if I heard that correctly, that you could see yourself on one level.
Yes.
I'm just wondering how you would come up with that statement based on the fact that we are an aging demographic, you know, across the country, just not here in Pembroke. How would you consider, you're saying now you're sort of cramped for space with your arts and crafts, et cetera. How would you handle that?
I'm not 100% sure I understand what you're asking me. I think what the deputy mayor was talking about was conversation and inclusion into whatever the new, or if the new rec center is going on. Is that not where you were going with that?
Yeah, that's where I was going with that, but that's down the road,
Yeah.
like, you know.
So
Okay,
in our
very good.
current, in our current facility, we don't have the capacity to be on one level.
Right, okay. That clarifies what I.
But if we don't have a lift,
Yeah.
then our
no,
programming gets
no,
slashed.
It's crucial, it's crucial. The other thing is, you do have a program that's probably very redundant under activities, and that's Men in the Kitchen. I'm just wondering, do you have a lot of men in the kitchen that take part in that activity? Because I love to cook.
Absolutely, and that we're trying to incorporate a couple of things in that program. We've only run it once, and it was a really good success. And unfortunately, we had a little bit of problem trying to secure a chef again to come back. But it's back on the plate again this year as part of a grant program that we have. And so we're looking at not only just Men in the Kitchen, but maybe / cooking for one or that kind of stuff, because we have lots of folk who haven't had to cook in the past because somebody else has done that for them, and it's a little hard to find that elsewhere or learn how to boil water sometimes.
Thank you. Connie and Paula, thank you for your leadership, and we're glad that, we're very thankful that you are part of our community. On behalf of Mayor Gervais and all members of council, thank you for your presentation.
Thank you. Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is the Fire Marquee indemnification technology presentation. I would ask Chief Sell to introduce our guest. Welcome, Chief. Welcome, guest.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and good evening, Council. So tonight I'd like to introduce Mr. Chris Carrier. He is the National Accounts Manager for Firemark, Inc. He has been with them for 15 years and was recently appointed to the Board of Directors for the company. Prior to his career with Firemark, Chris served the citizens of Collingwood for 4 consecutive terms as both councillor and mayor from 1997 to 2010. He chose to leave public life to return to the private sector, though in 2022 he was appointed to fill a vacancy within Collingwood's council for an 8.5-month period. Before working with Firemark, Chris and 2 business partners owned a manufacturing company for 23 years, which was sold in 2010. Chris is here tonight at my request to discuss with you Firemark's cost recovery program for insured perils such as structure fires.
Good evening, members of council. It's a pleasure to be here, and Collingwood does have a heritage conservation district, so I did take the opportunity to drive around your community when I came into town, and you do have some very beautiful homes and lovely heritage here, so congratulations on that. Next slide, please. Firemark was created prior to 2010, but we began operations in 2011. The company was created by a number of retired and semi-retired insurance professionals, and on the adjusting side, so not the sellers of insurance, but those who actually adjudicated claims. Our top three in Ontario, who would be overseeing all of the claims process, have over 110 years of adjusting experience. We also started with 0 clients. It was a brand new business, and we now have over a third of Ontario's departments as clients, and we are now operating in British Columbia, Alberta, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, and New Brunswick. Our largest client is in excess of 300,000 in population. Our smallest client would be a few hundred people. We have large urban, small urban, rural townships, local service boards, and we actually have 2 First Nations communities. Next slide, please. Our program is designed to offset the expenses of the fire service and to generate a new cost recovery or a new revenue stream for the fire service. Next slide, please. Almost all property insurance policies in Canada under the additional coverages section have something titled Fire Department Expense Coverage. So if you go home and check your policy, you'll see around page 6 to 9, depending on which policy you have, you'll see Fire Department Expense Coverage. There are 196 insurance companies operating in Canada. When I started with the company in 2011, there was 234, but buyouts, amalgamations and such, there's now 196. So the coverages will vary depending on policy type and which company that you're with. So you'll see policies for 1,000, 3,000, 5,000, 15,000, 25,000. It just depends on which company. We do have a database of policy wording, so we're pretty up to date on the most recent wordings. Next slide, please. When we talk about insured perils, structure fires are the most obvious, but there's a list for you to review at your leisure of other types of insured perils. So essentially, if anything is involving property, a property type incident, there could be insurance coverage for us to review to see if there's a potential to recover the expenses incurred by the fire service. Next slide, please. And once more. Program kicks in after a property incident. Next slide, please. And there's essentially a 3-step process. Number 1, the fire service is already doing this work. They already have what they call a standard incident report. If the fire service does not have a scene release form, most do in Ontario, we do supply them free of charge to our clients. And then the only additional form is the initial report form, which is a summary of the other documents. It just helps our team to get started. Number 2 is the work that we do once we receive the standard incident report after the incident. Let's say it's a property that's insured with cooperators. We will reach out to the adjuster for cooperators in this area and say, has Mr. and Mrs. Smith made a claim against their property for the incident that occurred on such and such a date? And if the adjuster says yes, then we let them know that we're piggybacking on that claims process and we work through that recovery process with the adjuster. If they say no, Mr. and Mrs. Smith are rather handy people, it was a small incident and they're going to do the repairs themselves, then we close the file and we return it to the fire service. Box number 2 takes about, on average, 14 weeks. The shortest recovery has been 8 days and the longest recovery has been 42 months. So the 8-day just happened to be that the lead adjuster had worked with the adjuster on the other file in a previous aspect of their career, so they knew each other. So that was, it's not what you know, it's who you know. So it was a situation where that was facilitated quickly. And the 42-month recovery process was a non-residential fire. So because of the wordings of that particular policy, we ensure that the policyholder is entitled to all of the funds that they're legally entitled to before we access the fire department coverage, which was an add-on coverage in the way it was written in this policy. But we still managed to recover over $34,000 in fire cost recovery for our client. Box number 3 is one that you're always curious about. You receive 70% of the funds that we recover. We retain 30% for ourselves. There's no annual, there's no minimum. So if we worked on that file for 42 months and recovered nothing, there's no cost to you. If the fire chief is unsure that it's an insured peril and asks us to investigate it, there's no cost to you. The only time our company is compensated is if you're compensated. All of our clients are on a 70-30 split. Those who started in 2000 2011, and those who started last week. They're all on a 70-30 split. Next slide, please. Essentially, we confirm that there is coverage. There are properties that don't have coverage. And by that, I can give you an example. My father-in-law's cottage near south of Owen Sound, Ontario, was on a road that was not accessible in the wintertime. So there was no fire department coverage because the fire service couldn't get there if there was a fire. So there was no fire department coverage. But as I said, we have those policy wordings. This is under the additional coverage section. So if the policyholder is entitled to $500,000 in claims, and let's use cooperators as the example again, there's $5,000 sitting there to offset the fire department expenses. The policyholder is still entitled to $500,000, and the fire service is entitled up to $5,000 in eligible expenses. So the policyholder is not entitled to that money, only the fire service is. So it becomes a binary choice. Either the fire service gets it, or the insurance company keeps it. Next slide, please. The monies returned stay within the fire service budget for public education campaign, personnel training, or capital purchases in 1998. And then in 2005, the Supreme Court of Canada opined and gave an opinion on the difference between a fee and a tax. You know through your budget process that property taxation can be applied against all sections of your budget. There's no real restrictions. Fees are for a product or a service supplied by a department. Therefore, the recovery stays within that department. If it goes into general revenues, it could be deemed to be an indirect tax, and you could be challenged by an insurer. Our contract says that the money stays within the fire service budget. Next slide, please. Oh, there's Bradford West Gwillimbury. Actually, when they built their new fire hall, you'll see that sign that they can use for animation, that was supplied by funds that we recovered on their behalf. Next slide, please. Once more. The Insurance Bureau of Canada is on record. They publish an annual fact book. I've been checking them since 2014, and it describes how that they calculate what your premium should be, and the risk is shared amongst all of their policyholders. But it's very similar to your budgeting process. They've already forecasted that they should be paying out on fire department expense. So in charging the consumer a premium, they've already determined that they should be paying out on this expense. Prior to 2010, they weren't. There was only 2 municipalities in Canada that were charging a flat fee on a regular call-out basis. So there's no risk to a premium increase with our program. Next slide, please. We did have a small mutual in Eastern Ontario challenge that with their local elected officials. Insurance companies have to publish their budgets online or their financial statements online. They're easy to pull up. In this case, they had $18.8 million in underwriting income. They had direct losses of $10,713,000, of which they only had 3 insured perils that year, of which they only had $1,000 worth of coverage. So they were telling via their policyholders to the elected officials, we're going to have to raise the rates. And I was like, no, you don't. Not for 0.028 of 1%. Next slide, please. The superintendent of insurance, once more, please, published the fact that there's 26,000, next one, 359 policies. So the risk is shared amongst all the policies, once more, and that represents 11 cents a policyholder. Canada is also one of the largest reinsurance markets in the world. So the insurance companies take their property portfolios and they reinsure any risk that they have on those properties. In this particular case, there was actually reinsurance. This insurance company didn't lose any money on our program. They got it back through their reinsurance. There's no risk. The math doesn't hold up. If in your budget process you had a line item for the fire hall of $50,000 a year, that you should be paying out on heat and hydro. And if you're $50,000 a year, nobody's going to say anything. But could you imagine the brouhaha if it was zero? If the actual was zero and you were just pocketing the difference to offset the other costs in your budget? No. If you're going to charge the consumers for a product, then the consumer and the benefactor should benefit from that premium. that was paid by the consumer. That's all we're doing, is we're asking them to honor the coverage for which they've charged the policyholder. If you're so concerned about policy rates and premium rates, then take out the coverage and stop charging the consumer for it. Next slide, please. I've touched on this. There is no deductible applied to this section, so the policyholder is not out any money. Next slide, please. You'll get that question sometimes as decision makers. Well, isn't this why I pay taxes? In essence, you pay taxes to have your fire service ready to go, well-trained, and with the best equipment that your community can afford. What we're recovering is anything that's defined as a consumable in response to the incidents. So we're not charging for everything. We're only charging for the eligible expenses that are contained within the policy language. And we're quite good at it. Next slide, please. Why can't we do it ourselves? We get asked that one all the time. It sounds so simple, Chris. You make it sound so easy. If you've ever gone through a claims process, it's not as easy as just asking them for money or sending an invoice for money. Our insurance, semi-retired, retired insurance professionals know how to interact with other insurance professionals and recover these funds. Next slide, please. And I will make a comment that some of our large urban clients within their own treasury departments have adjusters who work on staff within their treasury departments. But those are the legal liabilities, the slips and falls specialists. You fall on the sidewalk or trip on the sidewalk, you sue the municipality, well, those folks would adjudicate those claims. These are property claims, and our adjusters are property specialists. Once again, and with this slide, we're just asking the insurance industry to honor the coverage for which they've charged the policyholder. I'll put the illustration another way. Christmas is coming. We go to the grocery store. We buy our groceries. At the end of the cashier line, we see a box to help those who are in more need than we are. We buy some extra groceries, and it goes to those, hopefully, who need it. But how would you feel if you looked through the window and you saw the grocer restocking your shelves? Well, you'd be upset because that's not why you bought it. The consumer has paid for this coverage for this fire service. It should be going to the fire service. Next slide, please. The next steps, if council is in agreement with our program and likes our program, is to institute 2 bylaws, approve an agency agreement with us, which I know your staff have, and I know that that is before your agenda on another meeting for consideration. Next slide, please. And I'm happy to answer any questions or address any concerns that you may have.
Members of council, Councillor Bernier.
Yes, through the chair. Thank you very much, Chris, if I can call you Chris. There's a show on YouTube called Chris, but anyway, that's okay. What I want to know is, I briefly looked through the Coles notes of my own home insurance that I have, and that's all it is Coles notes. It was not like what you showed on this PowerPoint, like it wasn't a thick document. But so I didn't see anything that said fire service expense coverage. I did not see that in this version. But have you ever come across an insurer that does not have this in a policy?
Yes, through the chair to you, I use my father-in-law.
No, but I mean, he wasn't insured at all for fire. But I'm saying, have you ever found a policy that someone has fire coverage, but the insurance company doesn't have that in theirs? Or is it in 100% of policies? Because I've never seen it in print.
It's almost in every single policy in Canada.
Almost.
Almost. There are exceptions. So my father-in-law's cottage, through the chair to you, was insured with Grey Power. And there was no fire department expense coverage because they couldn't access the road. But I'm going to say to you, it's in the very high 90s that the property coverage is there. Some renter policies do not have the coverage. Most renter policies do. So if you're insured with Allstate or State Farm, I sometimes get them mixed up, they'll have $1,000 coverage for renters. Okay. But on their, let's say their Chevy policy, they may have nothing. But on their Cadillac policy or their ultra premium policy, they'll have 1,000 or 5,000.
Something will be in there.
Yes.
Okay, because that was my only, because I didn't see it, like I said, in mine, but maybe if I asked my agent to provide me with the, the larger river.
My home in Collingwood, Ontario, I'm insured with Aviva.
Yeah.
And it's actually unlimited fire department coverage.
Wow.
Cooperators is 5, personal is 10,000.
I'm in
But there's a-
intact, I'm intact.
You're 10.
Okay,
And they may have just changed your policy wordings very recently
Okay.
To increase that.
thank you. That's all.
Just for clarification, you said your father-in-law did not have the fire insurance because the road was not accessible. Was he insured against fire, but because the road was not accessible, he did not receive the benefit?
So his property was insured, but there was no fire department coverage. So if his cottage burnt down, he received all of the funds that he was entitled to. There was just no money under the additional coverages section for the expenses incurred by that fire department that responded to that incident.
Thank you. Further questions of council, your worship?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just want to thank you for coming and fleshing it out and explaining it in more detail for us. And certainly if there's funds that we're leaving on the table, so to speak, then certainly we should be pursuing that. The one question I have, and I just want to make absolutely sure I have this, one of your slides talks about the fire department's role in this particular process, because time is money for all of us. And so what you're indicating is the fire department already completes the standard incident report. So what they're effectively doing is handing over the report, but there's not going to be any additional taxing of time, meaning it's not going to utilize any more additional time of the chief or his members to facilitate this process. Once that report goes over, their role is, there's no additional time being utilized to facilitate your particular business.
Through the chair to your worship. So I've sat in your chair and I don't like surprises. So generally speaking, once we receive that information, then we take it from there. If it's a complicated fire or a complicated incident that required extraordinary costs, let's say a water bomber drop, because we've recovered on water bomber drops. Let's say there was a whole bunch of damaged equipment. We can recover 50% of the replacement cost, but we have had incidents where the equipment was less than a month old, and we were able to recover 100% of the replacement cost. But it was because we went back to the fire chief and their admin assistant and said, can we have those recent invoices on this new equipment? So generally speaking, yes. Are there exceptions to the rules? Yes. And I'm going to suggest to you, if there weren't exceptions to the rules, they wouldn't need us lovely elected officials.
Chief, can we have an overview from you? You've been sitting there quietly.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, I appreciate that question, Your Worship. And I think there is going to be a bit of a learning curve at the beginning once we implement all the steps that we need to take, because this is new to myself and my staff. But I foresee having it streamlined relatively quickly. And as Mr. Carrier had mentioned, on some of those bigger incidents where we do see damage to equipment or lost equipment, things like that, like those are going to be pretty big time-consuming events in general. So I don't foresee a huge portion of the time being allocated down the road. Now, in the beginning, there is going to be, like I said, the learning curve, so we can get everything in place.
And Your Worship, if I may clarify through the chair, when we sign up a new client, my colleague is the retired fire chief from the city of Kenora. And Todd did not have a deputy fire chief, and he did not have an admin assistant. So he set up a standard operating guideline process that he reviews with new clients to show them how to streamline the process so that their time is absolutely minimized in putting the data set together that we need. And I would like to emphasize, most of it, the fire service will already have.
Other questions from members of council? Councillor Keel.
Can I be reminded of where we are with this? Did we approve it? Did we table it? What did we do with it?
Through you, Mr. Chair, yes, we did. You did approve. I invited Mr. Carrier to come forward to further explain the process. Tonight, the bylaw for the agreement will be coming forward, as well as our amended schedule of fees for your consideration.
And when the fire chief sent me a request to come, I'm going to suggest to you the only thing worse than a politician with a microphone is a retired politician that has an access to a microphone. So it's my pleasure to be here.
Thank you. Nothing further. We'd like to thank Mr. Carrier and the chief for a quite in-depth explanation of what may be to come. Thank you. Our next order of business will deal with the extension of Pound Keeper agreement with the OSPCA. And we have Director Soriel here. Along with, pardon?
Good evening.
Good evening. Welcome.
Thanks. So that the planning, our recommendation is that the Planning and Development Committee endorse and recommend to Council the entering into a 2-year agreement with OSPCA as the city's pound keeper. If direction is provided, a bylaw will be before Council at the December 16th meeting. So I'm going to flip over to the background right now, and that the city's animal control bylaw was enacted in 2021, and that's to regulate the keeping, control, and welfare of animals within the city. Following a recent review by staff, it was determined that there were certain provisions of the bylaw that required updating. A report was provided to the Planning and Development Committee on October 7th, outlining proposed changes to the animal control bylaw, and those changes have been made, and a bylaw is before Council at tonight's meeting. So getting back to the OSPCA Pound Keeper Agreement, which is set to expire on December 31st, 2025. And according to the request for proposal that was issued in 2021, the RFP permits a 2-year extension to this agreement. The OSPCA has indicated they are in support of the 2-year extension, but requested changes to the animal control bylaw as what were presented in the October 7th report, and they are satisfied with the changes that are being proposed in the new animal control bylaw. So with the proposed changes in place, the OSPCA is willing to enter into the 2-year pound keeping agreement with the city, and as part of that agreement, the OSPCA would now like to charge an annual rate for services instead of an individual cost per animal. So they are changing all of their municipal agreements to now include an annual rate, which is based on the average number of intake animals. Based on a 5-year average, the city saw 141 animal intakes annually, and the OSPCA, based on that, would charge an annual rate of $50,000 up to 150 animals. So if the animal intake exceeds the 150, then a rate of $475 per animal would apply. The existing agreement remuneration for its service as pound keeper is $375 for each cat or dog. So going back to the financial implications, what this means to our 2026 budget is an addition of $5,000 extra. And that would be the cost to pay OSPCA and the animal control contractor Protect 5. In 2025, we budgeted $60,000, and now for these two services in 2026, we'd have to budget $65,000. So over a 4-year term, we saw an annual payment of $52,434 to OSPCA. It varied different years, but on average, it was about $52,000. And our Protect 5 average annual over the past 4 years is about $13,264. So the $65,000 is an adequate amount to cover the cost of the pound keeper agreement. So if direction is received tonight, a bylaw will be before Council at December 16th with an agreement with OSPCA.
Questions, discussions? Councillor Fernier.
Through you to Colleen, I'm looking at on page 38, I think, in my report of my agenda, I mean. it says a $375 intake fee. Am I looking at last year's agreement?
Yeah, you're looking at the previous, I sent you the previous
Yes.
agreement.
Okay,
yes.
that's what I thought. So now it's
Yes.
going up to 400?
$475
Wow.
after 150 animals. So we've seen an average of
Okay.
141 animals a
Right.
year. So up to 150 animals, it will cost the city $50,000.
Flat rate.
Flat rate for 2026 and then in 2027. And it's only a 2-year agreement because that's all that our RFQ would allow, because it only allowed a 2-year extension.
Okay. So my question then, it says here that, so let's say we're within our limit. We don't have to pay this $50 a day boarding fee. It's included in the 50, but it also says if this animal is involved in a police investigation, it could be up to a year. In excess of a year, this animal has to be in care.
So I did ask that question.
Yes.
And through you, Mr. Chair, we are just paying the $50,000.
Okay.
So we're paying for a service that is OSPCA is providing us. So they say that there's, like as an example, a cat, they're saying takes approximately 6 weeks to adopt a cat if a cat is found stray and nobody comes to take it back. So they're paying for that cat for the 6 weeks. At their cost of $40 a day is $1,680. We're not paying that. We're paying the $50,000 flat fee. Or say we were over the 150 animals, we'd only pay the $475 for that one cat.
Okay. So if we, yeah, it's quite complicated.
It's very complicated.
So if we have 140,
we're still paying $50,000.
yeah, if we have 141 and that one happens to stay for a year, we're going to pay $17,000 odd extra.
No, through you, we're just paying $50,000.
No matter how many animals.
Up to 150.
Exactly. Okay.
Okay, so then 151, the 151st animal comes out, we're paying another $475.
To take it in and then so much a day.
No, that's it,
Oh,
$475.
Okay, I got it. Okay.
475.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. That's it. Just wanted to clear that up.
Your worship, Councillor Kale?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Okay, we'll try and approach it from this perspective. In 2021, the city of Pembroke paid over $70,000 for the services of the OSPCA, and I want to say that I have absolutely no issue with the OSPCA and the services they supply, but it's a, in my opinion, significant blip more than 2022, 23, 24, and 25. And I'm wondering whether you know why in 2021 it's like at least $20,000 more, because if there's a calculation going on here trying to average it and so forth to come up with how it's arrived at, that's a significant blip more. And what I'm wondering is, and I could be totally wrong in terms of what year it was, but there was once upon a time that OSPCA accepted, as I recall it, feral cats and then, or feral animals, and then that was kiboshed. And so then that wasn't, and so I don't know if it's 2021. So I'm giving you that. I'm giving you a little bit of a leader in the event that maybe that's the answer, but I'm just trying to figure, like, that's a $20,000 blip, and if there is an averaging going on. Anyways, so that's my
Ms. Soriel,
question.
can you answer that?
Through you, yes, it had to do with the feral cats. I did speak with Jennifer Bloom, who is with the OSPCA at their head office, and she indicated that our cat population was quite high in 2021 and before. Now it's coming down, and she said it's starting to, come to more of an average as to what other municipalities are seeing. So.
Councillor Kale?
So I'm going to move that the Planning and Development Committee endorse and recommend to council the entering into of a 2-year agreement with OSPCA as the city's pound keeper.
Motion on the floor by Councillor Kale for 2-year agreement. Seconder, Deputy Mayor, discussion? Councillor Kale?
So at the end of the day, as presented in the report, this is taking the yearly average intake of 141 animals And I think that's been fairly consistent over the last couple of years. The $5,000 increase in the budget is for both the OSPCA agreement and the
Protect 5.
dog catcher. So it's a $5,000 increase for those two services, which I think in terms of being over time is not, it's not an irregular increase for those two services. So I'll be supporting, well, obviously I'll be supporting the motion I brought.
Further comment? Seeing none, those in favor? Against? Carried unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you. Second item is the assumption of Sydenham Street. So
Yes, go ahead.
that the recommendation of the Planning and Development Committee of Council endorse and recommend to Council the assumption of Sydenham Street. There are no financial implications for the city as all the work has been done at the developer's expense. So in 2019, the city entered into an agreement, a development agreement with 577785 Ontario Limited to create 2 large lots on Sydenham Street and 2 large lots on Mountain. And they were all for single-family homes. The agreement dealt with issues such as developing and transferring a permanent cul-de-sac, looping water mains, creating easements. And so all of those parts of the agreement were completed, and the city during that time has stopped up and closed the unopened Sydenham Street road allowance that runs from the end of the cul-de-sac through to Melton Street. And in 2018, the Planning Advisory and Adjustment Committee approved the severance applications to create those 4 large lots. So now that the conditions have been fulfilled, conditions being that the city has transferred 9 parts for creating 4 large lots. The developer has transferred to the city lands for the creating of the cul-de-sac and has developed the cul-de-sac to the city's standards. The developer has looped the water main on Sydenham Street to Melton and has granted the city a 6-meter easement for the water main. The developer has provided an easement for city infrastructure. The developer has erected a street light on the cul-de-sac, and all the costs were borne by the developer. Several inspections have taken place by the Operations Department since the inception of the agreement. A recent inspection on October 21st with the Supervisor of Roads and Fleet confirmed that all conditions have been fulfilled to the satisfaction of the city, and the road can now be assumed. So based on your direction, a bylaw will be before council at the December 16th council.
Deputy Mayor, Councillor Keel.
Thank you, Chair. Motion to the Planning and Development Committee endorse and recommend to Council the assumption of Sydenham Street.
Motion on the floor, seconded by Councillor Lafreniere. Further questions to the Director? Seeing none, I'll call the question. Those in favor? Against? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Next item of business, where are we here? Renewal of PBIA financial agreement with City of Pembroke. Director Soriel.
Okay, so the recommendation is that the Planning and Development Committee endorse and recommend to Council a 2-year renewal of the PBIA financial agreement with the City of Pembroke with a 5% increase in 2026 and a 5% increase in 2027. A bylaw will be prepared for the December 16th Council meeting. So the bylaw department is responsible for covering its operating and maintenance costs, as well as salaries. And the costs incurred for operating and maintaining it's all of its rental space, its insurance, vehicles and maintenance, meter costs, etc., comes out to about $250,000 a year. But there are revenues based from the parking meters, fines, plate denial, parking permits, fees from Giant Tiger, and they come out to about $145,000. And adding the $21,000 that the our department receives from the PBIA, we'll still see a possible net loss of $83,000. In 2026, there has been a approval to get 62 new meters. And we're hoping to see a revenue increase, which will be our next item on the agenda. So direction was received from Council and Caucus at their meeting of November 4th to extend the financial agreement with the PBIA for 2 years from January 1, 2026 to December 31st, 2027, with a 5% increase in 2026 and a 5% increase in 2027. Therefore, the PBIA shall pay to the city in 2026 $22,050, and then in 2027, based on a 5% increase, we would see a fee of $23,152.50. So the existing financial agreement is set to expire with the PBIA on December 31st, and the financial contribution of $21,000 has remained stagnant for many years. So that the fee, the 5% fee, if approved, helps cover costs of the free and 2-hour free parking lots, covering lost revenues from free all-day parking passes to employees, covers lost revenues for parking meters for special events on weekends, and for special events such as downtown pumpkin treats and Buskerfest. And it will help us with our parking meters. And it will also goes towards the lost revenue from the 12 metered spaces that were removed in the Shamrock parking lot in 2023. So that resulted in a lost revenue for our department. So the PBIA has agreed to the 5% increase in 2026 and to a 5% increase in 2027.
Direction, questions? Councillor Franier.
I'd just like to move that we support the recommendation to council to approve a 2-year renewal of the PBIA financial agreement with the City of Pembroke.
Moved by Councillor Fournier, seconded by the Deputy Mayor. Questions of the Director? Seeing none, those in favor? Carried unanimously, thank you. Next item, we're dealing with parking meter rate increase, ad hoc committee recommendation, bylaw enforcement officer. Michaela Cuno, welcome.
Good evening. I'm here tonight to present this report that contains the recommendation from the Parking Ad Hoc Committee on a new parking meter rate. The recommendation is that the City of Pembroke's Planning and Development Committee endorses and recommends to Council the recommendation of the committee to increase the parking meter rate from 50 cents an hour to $1 an hour upon installation of the new parking meter technology. The committee met on November 17th, 2025 to review current revenue levels and the financial implications of a potential rate adjustment. The committee agreed that the current rate of 50 cents an hour has been unchanged for many years and should be updated to reflect the newer parking meter technology that will be installed. The committee reached consensus that an increase to $1 an hour would be reasonable and appropriate. The recommended rate increase to $1 is supported for the following reasons. The rate of 50 cents has not changed for many years. The implementation of new parking meter technology supports the need for an updated and more current fee structure. The increase provides improved revenue recovery without creating a significant barrier when accessing downtown parking. Overall, the committee concluded that the recommended increase represents a fair, balanced approach that reflects new service levels and user expectations. Some alternatives council may consider: maintaining the current rate of 50 cents an hour, increasing the parking meter rate to the recommended $1 an hour, or establishing a different rate than the rate recommended by the committee. To conclude, the financial comment: increasing the parking meter rate from 50 cents an hour to $1 an hour is projected to generate approximately $2,684.52 in additional revenue per month, or $32,214 annually. This adjustment will help offset ongoing operating costs and monthly fees associated with upgrading to new parking meter technology.
Deputy Mayor, Your Worship, Councillor Fournier.
Just a comment, sitting on the PBA board and talking to the members, one of the goals of meters is keeping people moving downtown. And the fact we're getting new meters, many people were saying that some of the meters didn't work. So we're getting new meters, and it has been a long time since it increased, and there's a cost recovery involved, and it's $1. It's still a fee, but it's within reason, just like the fee that we just approved. It hasn't been raised in years. So I'm going to make a motion to accept the recommendation of the ad hoc committee to increase it to $1 an hour.
Motion on the floor by Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Fournier. Your Worship, you're next. Councillor Fournier and then Councillor Keogh.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As this committee knows, the ad hoc group was tasked with reviewing this concept of the increase, what should the increase be, and to make a recommendation back to this particular committee. That committee consists of the executive director of the BIA, a member of the public, and 2 members of council, and appreciate the staff report. And so for the reasons provided in the staff report, it just makes sense to proceed at this time. No one likes to see increases in terms of fees, but as has been the discussion of this council many times, if it's not being done by way of taxation, then you need to have certain user fees to try and ensure that there's sufficient funds to handle different items that we're faced with as a municipality. So I certainly support the motion.
Thank you, Your Worship. Councillor Fernier, then Councillor Keall.
That's fine. I was just going to second the motion.
Oh, sorry, we're looking for a seconder. So we have a second, Councillor Fernier. Councillor Keall.
So I'll begin by just thanking Director Sorial and Bylaw Officer Kuno for all of their work on this project. This has been many months of discussion and looking at things. And to the mayor's point, the reality is costs go up, and the reality is, as the deputy mayor said, the reason we have the parking meters is because the downtown businesses have told us that they need something to keep the traffic flowing. So if there's not a meter there, then it's usually replaced by a time period. Whether it's a meter or whether it's a time period, you still have to have a bylaw officer enforcing to get the traffic moving. And those costs go up every year. What hasn't gone up every year is the prior PBIA agreement that we discussed in the last section. And it's my understanding that that the rates on the parking meters haven't gone up in a couple decades. So that's definitely not keeping with the times. And as the mayor said, if we're not paying for it out of meter fees, we're charging the taxpayers for it. I don't think Ms. Kuno is going to work for free, and I'm not going to ask her to work for free. So we have to cover these costs one way or another. I think this is a reasonable approach, and I think the deputy mayor called it a reasonable approach. There is still free parking downtown in the lots. So essentially, what we have now is we almost have a premium parking on the road that's metered, and we have free parking in the lots that might be a little further away from the front doors of the stores. So I think it's offering a good mix to our residents, and it's also ensuring that our residents, and I know we've all alluded to this around the table, Pembroke's a hub, and if we put it all on taxation, it means it's Pembroke residents paying for it. So now when others come into the city and use our wonderful downtown, which we know they do on a daily basis, we're getting some user fees that are also going to be coming from some of our non-taxpayers. So I think that's an additional good point that wasn't raised, and I will be happy to support this. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you for your sage comments. Further questions or recommendations? Seeing none, I'll call the question. Those in favor? Against? Carried. No further business before the committee. I would entertain a motion of adjournment moved by the Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Vernier. Those in favor, we are adjourned. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our December 2nd Finance and Administration Committee meeting of Pembroke City Council. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Is there any disclosure of community interest and general nature thereof? No? See none. Move on to item 3. Approval amendment of meeting agenda. Could I have a motion to approve the agenda? Moved by Councillor Lafreniere, seconded by Councillor Keel. Those in favor? Thank you. Item 4, approval of minutes of the Finance Administration Committee meeting of November 4th, 2025, moved by Councillor Jacquino, seconded by Councillor Keel. Those in favor? Carried. Any business in those minutes? See none. We move on to new business. We have our monthly report, and we welcome Chief Sell for November's report. Welcome, Chief.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this report covers the dates from October 29th to November 25th. At the end of October and moving into the first week of November, we started with Carbon Monoxide Awareness Week. This week was dedicated to raising awareness about the dangers of carbon monoxide, promoting the use of carbon monoxide alarms, and educating the public through safety tips on preventative measures. New regulations around carbon monoxide alarms will take effect January 1st, 2026. So the easiest way I can describe the changes is that the new rules mirror that of the rules regarding smoke alarms. So we're looking at one on every level of your home and outside all sleeping areas. Of course, there are certain exemptions to this. For example, if your home doesn't have a fuel burning appliance, you may not be required to have a carbon monoxide detector. However, if you do have fuel burning appliances in your home, if you have an attached garage, if you have a fireplace, those requirements will apply to you. So if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to the fire department for clarity. We will be working forward on a promotional campaign with media release. We've already started with social media posts. We'll try to do our best to keep the public educated on it and show and be open and transparent to what's going on with this. Our smoke alarm program continued in November. So far, the results are encouraging in the larger apartment complexes and supportive housings. We're seeing most smoke alarms in place and working properly. The lone fire drill outside of vulnerable occupancy drills occurred at the Pembroke Regional Hospital. Our partnership with the Renfrew County Fire Departments continues in the Eganville Leader. And messaging on Pembroke's Pure Country focused on safety tips for home heating season and appliance cleaning and inspection reminders. We also ran an ad on carbon monoxide awareness and safety tips. In November, we gained 30 followers on Facebook, bringing the total number of followers to 1,377, and we had close to 77,000 views of our content. Fire prevention messages range from electrical safety tips for your home to cooking safety, with the whole week dedicated to carbon monoxide awareness at the beginning of the month. And we've started safe driving tips in the winter. Our partner agency information, of course, we tried to assist the City of Pembroke in getting as much information out as possible to the water main break that we're working through. And of course, the road closures, of course, and we helped out the Professional Firefighters Association with their promotion of the Chili Fest. Education, acting captains Verdeel and Zimmerman continue to work through their assignments for Instructor 2 course, and that is a pretty large post-class assignment, and I must say that their dedication to completing this course is greatly appreciated from myself. Staff are still working through the lithium-ion batteries online course through the Ontario Fire College. Firefighter Troutman and Gibbon are working towards their fire and life safety instructor, and I attended the Ontario Association of Fire Chiefs annual health and safety conference and annual general meeting in November. In November, we conducted the annual vulnerable occupancy fire drill at Supple's Landing. Emergency management. So under emergency management, the Emergency Operations Center was activated for the water main break on Friday, November 21st. The Emergency Exercise Planning Committee held its first stakeholder meeting in November. So the next stakeholder meeting is scheduled for January 7th, 2026, and that will be 10 a.m. at the Pembroke Fire Department. And the exercise is scheduled for April 22nd, 2026. So every monthly report, I will be reminding council and the community that the exercise is coming on April 22nd, 2026. It is a full-scale exercise, so there will be impacts on roadways, on some businesses, but that's the idea behind these stakeholder engagement meetings, is to bring those people in and potentially work with them through the exercise. And the turnout for the stakeholder meeting was very encouraging, and feedback was very good as well. The EOC training room hosted 6 additional meetings in the month of November. In November, the Pembroke Professional Firefighters Association held yet another successful Chili Fest. So all proceeds from the Chili Fest are given back to local charities throughout the year. The Pembroke Professional Firefighters Association also supported the Wesley United Soup Kitchen and donated to the Miramichi Lodge Stroke Unit in November. The career training for the month is outlined in the report. Volunteer training focused on self-contained breathing apparatus, hose advancement, and search and rescue. Recreational open-air burning, the permits have basically stopped. I believe everybody is waiting for that January 1st changeover. Our smoke alarm program, in November, we conducted 96 smoke alarm program inspections, testing a total of 231 alarms. No alarms were missing. 4 smoke alarms were not working. 9 batteries were replaced, and we installed 0. Now, when I say we installed 0, I mean the fire department did not supply the detectors. We did assist some of the homeowners in installing their own detectors. And the other thing I do need to point out is that the number of inspections in November, October, and September, those were in some of the larger apartment buildings, which they do see more buy-in on the prevention side of things. They have dedicated staff to maintain their systems, things like that. So whereas the numbers, if this was private households, we may see more alarms missing, alarms not working. But like I said, it is encouraging seeing in these supportive housing homes and large apartment buildings that the smoke alarms are there, working and in place. They do present quite a high risk to us and to the residents, so that's encouraging. Inspections and consultations, total of 168 consultations in the month of November. And as far as responses go, we had 52 responses in November. That is by far the most responses we've had in a month in 2025. We did have one major fire in November, and that accounts for $500,000 of the $515,000 lost in November. And lastly is our fines. Seeing there's still one outstanding. So, and that's it for my monthly report.
Thank you, Chief. Any questions or comments for the Chief? Councillor Jagano?
Chief, not so much into your presentation tonight, but I do have a question. Councillor Keel and I sit on the Planning Advisory Committee, and often we have developers coming forward, with proposals to build, et cetera, apartments, et cetera. And I had a concern at the last meeting. I just like a clarification for myself. There was an apartment that was supposed to be renovated on Bennett Street. I think you may be familiar. It's a fairly large unit, but that development is not going to go place. Now they're going to build to the rear of the building. My question to the developer at the time was, and I mean, I may be lacking in knowledge here, that's why I'm going to you. They're going to build an apartment unit at the back of the existing one. My question was, how do we know there's going to be, probable, entrance and exit for a fire vehicle? If it's a cul-de-sac, how does that process go? How are you were informed? Could you explain that to me for my own edification?
Thank you, through you, Mr. Chair. I think Brian could probably answer the question better than I could, but I'll do my best. So as of right now, I have not been involved in that planning. So the discussion, the information you're presenting is a surprise to me. I had heard a little bit rumblings about the project not moving forward as we had reviewed in the past. But right now, in its infancy and planning, you know, every department is going to be involved in that planning process at some point. So generally at the onset, it's going to be more of the planning department, Mr. Lewis's department, and that's where Mr. Lewis will look at everything like the infrastructure that's going to support the building. And from there, they'll develop the drawings, and as part of those drawings, the building and planning will review, operations will review, and they'll bring the fire department in to assist, and we'll review and we'll look at making sure that all those things are in place. And a lot of that stuff will be dictated through the building code.
Thank you. My only concern was, you know, larger pieces of equipment these days and the turning radius, you know, if they had to get out quickly. That was my concern, but you've answered my question. Thank you very much. So we're on the ball. Thanks.
Any other questions for the chief? Comments? No? Thank you, chief. We now welcome Director of Operations, Mr. Lewis, for a report on the emergency trunk water main repair at Riverside Park procurement. Director Lewis, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this report is for information purposes only, and it relates to the procurement services and the materials related to the recent 24-inch water main break at Riverside Park. Just to let you know, some of the details that I'll present are updates to the report that was previously submitted as work has continued, and the issue is quite fluid, pun intended. We'll talk about the financial component first, which is the main reason for this report regarding procurement. So normally we would do a formal procurement process for infrastructure works of this magnitude, but due to the circumstances and the timing required to effect the repair, procurement was done on an emergency basis. Excuse me, that was done under Clause 2.39 emergency purchases of the city's procurement policy, specifically as it relates to public health and the maintenance of essential municipal services. We would normally require a sealed bid process to meet policy, but due to the highly time-sensitive nature of the initial response, some sole source procurement was needed. Expenses associated with the water main break, the pipe inspection, and the repair work include outside contracts for internal inspection of the trunk water main, supply and installation of trunk water main materials, temporary water supplies, equipment rental, subcontract installation works, overtime, and miscellaneous expenses. Just so that everybody understands, the 24-inch water main is a pre-stressed concrete cylinder pipe. It requires specialized materials and specialized contractors to do the installation and repair. This is not a water main that we can do a repair on, so we had to hire outside. As the repair is ongoing, all costs have not been calculated. We do not have final cost figures yet. It's anticipated the cost ranges in the magnitude of $400,000 to $650,000. There was no budget for this work, as we could not have anticipated the break. So to help fund the works, there is roughly $123,000 in the pre-TLV water agreement reserves for waterworks. There's roughly $1,055,000 in the pre-TLV water agreement reserve for the water filtration plant. And as the trunk water main functions for both the water plant and to provide water to our storage facilities, in addition to supplying water to the distribution system, it's reasonable to use both of these reserves. So the intent is to use these reserves to fund the repair. To protect the reserves as much as possible for future works and future capital works, operations staff is reviewing the 2026 water capital projects to see if we can delay any of those 26 projects to help fund this work. That review is ongoing, and, excuse me, operations will discuss further with the treasurer. Just wanted to note that we have already cut projects out of the 2026 capital plan to try and keep the budget requirements down a little bit, but we are still reviewing. So some background and some discussion related to the break. On Thursday, November 20th, a leak was discovered in the 24-inch water main located in the area of Riverside Park. For those that have driven by, it's right in front of one of the ball diamonds in the gravel parking lot at Riverside Park. At that time, the leak was not significant. The flow of water was being contained. So we protected the site and we began planning steps to get the repair completed in a timely manner. Very early on the morning of November 21st, the leak became a break with significant water loss causing low-level alarms at the water plant. So staff responded immediately, modified the processes at the plant to protect the water treatment and the storage capabilities. At one point, just some information, at one point on early that Friday, the clear well at the plant was down to 18%. The quarry reservoir was below 20%. The pumps had shut off to prevent cavitating, and the water tower was close to losing the ability to regulate pressure in the system. Typically, the water plant pumps water into the distribution system at 100 to 140 liters per second. During the break, water rates were flowing at 475 liters per second. And that was just to maintain pressure in the distribution system. Water service to under 30 properties along Pembroke Street were without water for approximately 12 hours. Staff and contractors worked to isolate the trunk water main. They were able to restore normal service to all properties except Miramichi Lodge by late evening on the 21st. Late that Friday night, very late that Friday night, staff provided Miramichi Lodge with connection to the city's distribution system for continuous flow of non-potable water. Standby water supply was set up and connected by McRae's for fire suppression systems, and the fire department coordinated with the lodge for fire response. Bottled water was provided to the lodge for drinking and food preparation purposes, and the Renfrew County Health Unit has worked with us throughout the event, and they continue to do so. Testing was completed on that temporary water supply to Miramichi Lodge on November 24th. We got the results back on the 27th, and the health unit deemed that water consumable, and the lodge has since been back on normal operation, except for fire response. Fire response continues to be supported by the fire department in coordination with the lodge. On the 27th, after a somewhat slow return to water storage levels, the clear well was at 80%, the water tower back up to 74%, and the quarry reservoir was at 89%. Right now, we're trying to hold the quarry reservoir and reserve that water if we ever had a fire incident. At all times, the water plant continued their processes of backflushing, maintaining their systems to ensure that the water was and is safe to drink. The water is definitely safe to drink. Tomlinson, the repair contractor, arrived on site on Wednesday, November 26th. They started excavating for repairs. Excuse me, they worked through Thursday and Friday to remove 2 deficient pipe sections. On Saturday, we had the inspection contractor come in, and they did a scan of the interior of the pipe with robotic equipment to confirm the condition and to confirm the pipe would be able to be brought back up to full pressure after we completed the repairs. We scanned approximately 1.5 kilometers of pipe. We did that while the pipe was out of service. We had a section of pipe out, put the robot in. They did a scan in both directions from the break. It was anticipated that the new pipe sections could be installed and commissioned to allow for a return to service by end of day tomorrow, but during preparation to connect the new pipe sections, it was determined that one more section of pipe needed to be removed and another new section installed, so that led to a delay in commissioning. So at present, all welding should be completed, hopefully by late this evening. The welder is still on site presently. Hopefully by late this evening, they will have finished welding all that pipe. Then we'll backfill and we'll load the line tomorrow. Then water samples will be taken. We have to send those water samples away to an independent testing lab. We'll expect to get results back late Friday. On Saturday this weekend, operations is scheduling to open all valves and reconnect Miramichi Lodge through a new through new valving that we installed late last week. That'll bring the lodge back into the distribution system as normal with full fire suppression operational, and we hope that will be done by late Saturday evening. So regarding the scan that we had done, the inspection we had done, operations received preliminary results of the scan. Further downstream from the break, there's one area that's being reviewed for potential work. We're looking at potentially having a project come into play for next year. Hence why I say we're looking at the 2026 capital program for water, but we're cautious at this point in time because we may have more work to do on this one line. There are no signs of an immediate action, but there is a section that will need attention. So at that time, operations is considering a new connection to Miramichi Lodge. Right now, the connection to Miramichi Lodge is off the 24-inch water main. We have put in some valving when we reconnected to the distribution system and got the homes back online late that Friday night. We also put in some new valving on the service to Miramichi Lodge while the water is down so that we can reroute water. So as part of that additional repair that we're looking at potentially doing for next year, we may also look at doing an additional water service to Miramichi Lodge, but off our distribution system and not off the 24-inch, so that hopefully in the future this will never happen again where we'll have to completely shut Miramichi Lodge down. So as the water main is part of the trunk main system that feeds the city distribution system and water storage facilities, it also supplies water to Laurentian Valley. Repairs in a timely manner were necessary. There were no other alternatives that we could consider. So that's basically my point, my report, but if I could have one more minute, Mr. Chair. Apologies. Just want to take the opportunity to commend staff. An amazing job. I just can't say any more of what staff did for the ratepayers, for the residents, for the lodge. Everything. The plant people, the water distribution staff, internal staff, fire department, our contractors, everybody just got together, banded together, did an amazing job. I'd also like to thank the County of Renfrew, the lodge, and the health unit. They've been exceptional in helping us get through this. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Lewis. So we'll have questions and comments for Mr. Lewis. I have Councillor Keel and Councillor Lafreniere.
So first I'll piggyback right off of Mr. Lewis's last comments. I would say that from being on council since 2022, I think this is the first major emergency that I've been a part of. I'm sure others have, well, others I know had floods and COVID and all of those things. I couldn't thank your department more, but I know as well it goes well beyond your department, to our fire service, to our communications team. I'll tell you one thing was for sure is nobody was lacking in information, and I didn't receive, the only complaints I ever saw over the last week was why the car washes were still running. But nobody, and I got to tell you, to do something these days with Facebook and Instagram and not have any complaints or any or anything like that, I don't know what unicorn your people were riding in on, but that shows you how prepared you were, you and your team, Mr. Lewis, and how well of a job that you did, because when it comes to services, it's those everyday things that cause the biggest disruptions. And I know I've heard it here. In fact, I think it's the mayor that often says, when you turn on a tap, you don't really think, what it took to get the water to your place. But it's those everyday things that cause the biggest disruptions. And for so many people, I had a client in my office who was one of the 30-some people. apparently your people were there before he even knew what was going on. Water was offered and provided. So I mean, imagine the response time when before the customer even knew there was a big problem. Somebody, and I don't know who it was, but somebody was already knocking on their door. How could you say anything more about that kind of response? To get into some questions, I'm wondering, I believe you mentioned that the money that we're looking at using is coming from the pre-TLV water agreement, which I'm assuming is another way of saying that LV is not contributing to this cost, which is leading me to the question of why not?
Through you, Mr. Chair, they are contributing. They paid us for the water that we provided them and have been providing them for decades. So as part of that work, as part of those fees, they've contributed throughout. The reserves were built off of water rates. The difference between the pre-TLV reserves and the post-TLV agreement reserves is we did a separation, a distinct separation when we signed that last agreement. And basically, we have full control over the previous reserves. The present reserves that are being built, we have to go to TLV and ask for permission to use those reserves. So they have contributed through the water rates. Yep.
So essentially, we're taking it from pooled funds.
Correct. Yeah.
If we're gonna, you're not the only one that's gonna have puns tonight. Do we know what caused the break?
It's difficult to say this thing specifically happened that caused the break. What we do know, so it's two pieces of steel pipe that's concrete lined on the inside. There's a band that goes over the joint. It's welded. The band goes over the joint, and then they coat the exterior of the pipe with concrete. The steel band at this joint is rusted through. So what likely happened, potentially when it was initially installed or with the movement of ground, something has cracked that concrete layer on the outside, allowed water to enter underneath that concrete and rusted that band out, which caused that joint to fail. So the pipe length itself didn't fail, it was the joint that failed. So it was likely a crack in that concrete that allowed water to get at the metal component and rusted the metal component out.
How often do we review these large pipes for potential failures or whatnot? Or is it even possible?
It is possible. The last time we got a quote to scan, and there's various different methods of scanning, to scan the pipe, the entire length of the pipe, the cost was upwards of $2 million. So it's a difficult item to put on the list of capital projects to do a $2 million scan when we've got numerous capital projects that need to be done immediately. The pipe was installed in 1982. We've had 5 breaks through the entire length of that trunk water main since it was installed in 82. So it's not a frequent failure. So, you know, with all capital projects, with all infrastructure works, we weigh the risks. This one, the risk is high because of the significance of the break and so forth, but we need to weigh that out when we're looking at our capital programs and our you know, pre-planning and stuff.
Are there any other examples like Miramichi that comes right off this pipe? As you were saying that now we're trying to move it to coming off the distribution system instead of directly off the pipe. Are there other examples of that where we should be considering balancing that kind of question?
There may be a few. There may be a few of them along the stretch on Boundary Road. but I can't say for sure there even is. We have had a break on Boundary Road previously, and we had that isolated without affecting any users. It's very rare that we would have a situation where you would tap a trunk water main for servicing. We generally have a twinned water main or a distribution water main within the same road allowance. So it's very rare. We believe that when Miramichi Lodge was built, to access distribution was a block down the road. That particular location where Miramichi Lodge was built didn't have a distribution system close to it, so they decided at the time to tap into the 24-inch. In retrospect, it may not have been the best choice because you can't isolate. The trunk water main is a significant water main, and you can't isolate when there's a service attached to it, especially a home of that nature.
Councillor Frenier.
Through you, again, I commend you, your staff, for acting quickly, and I mean, your emotion shows how proud you are. And I'm sure you really counted on them to really pull together, and obviously you were not disappointed. And thank you to all the other departments and the county as well. So getting back to the finances, yeah, the pre-agreement, although, you know, the agreement was wasn't, you know, the agreement as it is today. I'm just wondering, do they have 50%? Do we need their permission to do everything? Is that the way the agreement says it? We can't just advise them?
Through you, Mr. Chair, from what I understand from the agreement, we need to discuss with them. So
Okay.
the intent of that, the clause of shared approval, if we can say it that way, for use of the post-TLV agreement reserves, is to ensure that we're using those reserves for capital projects that share within both municipalities. Okay. So when we talk about growth and allowing growth in both municipalities based on the existing distribution system or the plant, for example, it's to ensure that they have some say as to where we're going to put the money. We're not just focusing on stuff that benefits our new developments, that we're also taking into account their new developments and ensuring that we're providing the service that we're saying we would provide. Okay.
So I guess my opinion on that is we need to get it done, and we need to take the money from wherever we have it. And I would still say let's meet with Laurentian Valley, discuss this, and see how we can ensure that we have enough when we start building this new reserve. Because look at the cost. If it happens again, you know, our pre-agreement reserve is not going to last long. I mean, this is going to take quite a chunk of it. So I don't know what the capital share is going forward with LV, but now it should be looked at, I would imagine. One more question. So that pipe, the joint that broke would have been 43 years old. How is that when it comes to comparing the age of the other major water mains in the city? Is it just a child compared to some of them, or?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I wouldn't say a child.
I'd call 40 years old.
You know, maybe university age.
Okay.
Yeah, kind of heading into university or something of that nature.
Okay.
It's 1982. We
Yep.
still have some water mains fully functioning that are early 1900s.
Okay.
So some water main, like a PVC water main, a new PVC water main has a lifespan of 75 to 100 years.
Okay.
So a 42-year-old water main is not, oh, this is terrible, we've got all these old water mains. It's not.
So it's not that we neglected it, it's
no.
just bad luck.
Yeah.
And that's what happened, and I just want to thank you again. I'm sure this has been a real stressful time for you, and thank you for all your efforts. But I think we should just fund it from the pre-agreement reserve that we have.
Thank you. Mayor Gervais.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Committee knows that at the beginning of every term, there's an education component that is provided to not only council, but to members of staff. And there's for every course, there's usually some nugget that you take away, more than, you know, you take away a lot of information, but there's usually some critical piece, and I know that the consultant, the educator that's been hired twice now that I've attended the education, is that he would say that there's no easier way to demoralize a society but to mess with their water. And he said it twice now. I know at the last one he says, I remember you from the last one, but it's just so true that as Councillor Keel says, there's certain things that we take for granted, and turning on the tap is one of them. The other thing that I've often taken away is that what's in the ground isn't sexy. So we spend a significant amount of money on infrastructure that's in the ground, and frankly, the public doesn't know. Some, frankly, doesn't care. All they know is that they pay a certain amount, and they want the reliability that they turn on the water. They're not going to get they're not going to get sick. It's not going to be Walkerton, and we all know around this table we're the ones that are held liable if someone does get sick and someone does die in respect to the water system. Similar to what council is saying, certainly there's a strong thank you that needs to be made to all members of staff, and it's staff just simply coming together, all staff coming together, and when the comment is made and the compliment frankly made in terms of the communication strategy, that's not only staff at the end of this table, that's also our communications department, having Ms. Sutherland come together, do releases and so forth. It astounds me, and I will say this, and I'm not trying to be critical, but it astounds me that despite all of that communication, to still receive phone calls because a media source or someone has communicated with and is trying to get the personal story, if I can put it that way, and then individuals are calling asking, is this a scam? Is this, what is this? Is this true? Is there an actual issue? And it's like, how much more could staff possibly do to get you guys to understand that there's a very serious issue, and you're calling me to ask me if it's a scam? No, okay, no, it's not. This is serious. Reduce your water consumption, and that message was loud and clear. Unfortunately, I don't know that some, again, honored that particular part. When the staff say that there's an issue, and this isn't just unique to the water situation, we do these mock disasters for a reason so that we're prepared. But if staff was to say, we have a serious issue, and the city then says that to the public, take it at face value. There is a problem. Some are easily observed, such as high water and flooding and so forth. Anyone with eyes can see that there's a flooding situation. But if the city is saying there's a huge issue, take it at face value. When you're being asked to do something, there's a reason why you're being asked to do it. And the city isn't trying to be an ogre. The city is trying to say there's a serious issue here at hand, and you need to listen. I can tell you that the MPP, we've had discussions, the CEO and I, with the MPP. He is aware of the issue. He was made aware. And I think that the higher levels, particularly the province, needs to be made aware. I know we just finished returning from an Eastern Ontario Mayor's Caucus to meeting to get across to the province that it's all well and good that you have asset management plans. You got to properly fund this somehow, and it's not on the taxpayers. So we need to have the sufficient funds, and I realize in this particular situation, perhaps asset management isn't it, but there's other infrastructure that we have in the ground, and it very much is so. I know the gentleman at the end of this table knows that there's certain places, we look at the GIS and see the number of X's as to how many water main breaks happens on a particular stretch, that there are issues. And if it's not appropriately funded, how is it we're just going to have unfortunately, another situation, maybe not of this magnitude when you're dealing with the main, but you have that potential there. As a municipality, we all know that we have the nice to haves, but water and sewer is a must have. You're supplying this service to the community. It's the staff I know don't do what they do to get that 100% rating and sit at the end going, got another 100%. That's not what it's about. It's to ensure that when they turn on the tap and they consume it, they're not going to get sick, they're not going to die. So certainly I commend all of staff for coming together and doing what they did to make this happen, to everything went into play way to ensure that, repairs were being made and things were happening. And I commend those members of the public that took it seriously, and when communications from the City of Pembroke said, you need to do this, that certain members of the public took that seriously and actually fulfilled their end of this and said, okay, we need to restrict how much we consume because we're being told to. I'll leave that particular comment at that, but it's just, certainly commend all of staff, all the different departments pulling together and making it happen. And certainly the province is aware. I keep, on one hand, you're saying a good news item that we're about to celebrate the 200th, but in the next breath, then I say, but you understand that means our municipality is that old and a lot of our infrastructure is old. Maybe not 41 years, but there is infrastructure that is old. So certainly, I think what committee's trying to say, Mr. Lewis, if you can bring that back to the front line, because I don't know that the front line necessarily pays not attention, but is watching what committee and council has to say, but you're the voice that can then take it back to them, that we do appreciate what the front line is doing. Thanks.
Thank you, Your Worship. Councillor Giacono?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Mr. Lois. Obviously, showing emotion shows you're human, and I think some of that emotion not only comes from your ability to thank all your partners, but from having been under a tremendous amount of stress yourself, and for that, I think all of us thank you, and for the team, it's a team effort. 25 years ago, I was in a country that just gone through a war in Kosovo. Council sent me there, a military to support the military, Petawawa. And I'll tell you, there's no infrastructure. We take things for granted every day. When you turn that tap on, you expect water to come out of it. I was in a country where there was no water. There was no sewage system. It had been destroyed. People were drinking out of streams. They were getting rainwater when it rained. So we're very blessed that we had such a quick turnaround time to protect what's really precious to all of us. And I'll tell you, coming back from there, I never, ever turned the tap on once when I didn't say. I was very thankful for that. And my wife, we discussed what was happening, and we came to the conclusion we just can't run down to a wash because we feel like it. So we delayed the wash, and I think by the public doing that, we helped things move along quickly and to preserve, what was so precious to us. So thank you, and never take water for granted, because it's a gift, and it's a gift that we have people like you to make it work. Thank you.
Thank you. If I can speak from the chair, I want to echo what everyone has said. I'm not going to repeat some of the comments. But like Councillor Giacono was talking, I've lived in a country where you couldn't drink the water. I've lived in a country where they had a water tank in the ground and they collected it from the roof in Bermuda. And when it didn't rain, you had to pay for the water truck to come and fill it up. So, we take it for granted sometimes. A few months ago on my street, we had no water. One of the neighbors had a break. And I saw the gas meter person out with the meter, locating the lines, and the city truck came up, and there was about 4 vehicles there. And the teamwork I saw, they worked until over 2 in the morning, till the water was shut, the leak was repaired, and the water came on. So you talk about dedication. So I saw it there, and I drive by every day going to work, to school at Riverside Park. I see all the trucks and the big pile of, dirt and that. And the effort and the teamwork of the overall crisis situation, you can just see it, and your passion and compassion for your staff is to be commended, and all staff. And as you said, when I first got elected in 2018, I got a tour of the facilities. And I recommend, if we ever have that open house session again for residents to go see, and I always quote you, Mr. Lewis, the water filtration plant and the sewage plant are very highly regulated facilities, and the water distribution system. So Thanks again, and we commend you and your staff and everybody in the city of Pembroke and all our partners, like you said, from the county and everyone. So thank you. Motion to adjourn, Councillor Keel, Councillor Jacquino, those in favor? We are adjourned.
Evening, everyone. I'd like to call this council meeting to order for December 2nd. I would ask anyone who is able to please stand for an opening prayer reflection. Before opening this meeting of council, I would ask those who wish, each in your own way, silently join in a prayer of guidance over these proceedings. Thank you. Are there any disclosed pecuniary interests in relation to the council agenda this evening? Seeing none. Brings us to minutes. The first is the approval of the minutes of regular meeting of council November 18th, 2025. Moved by Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Keel. Those in favor? That is carried. Okay. Next is the adoption of minutes from various committees. First, we have Planning and Development Committee, November 4th, moved by Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Giacono. Those in favor? That is carried. And the next set of minutes to be adopted is Finance and Administration Committee, November 4th, 2024, moved by Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Lafreniere. Those in favor? That is carried. There's no minutes from local boards, nor is there delegations, nor staff committee reports. Moving us ahead to bylaws. First, I have bylaw 2025-85, Animal Control Bylaw. Councillor Giacono.
Thank you, Your Worship, members of council. Moved by myself, seconded by Deputy Mayor Abdallah, that bylaw 2025-85, being a bylaw to regulate the keeping and control of animals or any class thereof, the animal identification system licensing and restraint of dogs and cats, and certain other aspects of animal control within the city of Pembroke be adopted and passed, and further that said bylaw be signed by the mayor and clerk and sealed with the seal of the corporation, and awaiting your signature, Your Worship.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Giacono, seconded by the Deputy Mayor, that bylaw 2025-85, a bylaw to regulate the keeping and control of animals or any class thereof, the animal identification system, licensing and restraint of dogs and cats, and certain other aspects of animal control within the city of Pembroke be adopted and passed, and further said bylaw be signed by the mayor and clerk and sealed with the seal of the corporation. Councillor Giacono, did you wish to speak to this bylaw?
This was discussed previous meeting, Your Worship.
Thank you. Call the question. Those in favor? That is carried. Next is 2025-86, 422 Maple Avenue. Councillor Keel.
Your Worship, moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Lafreniere, that bylaw 2025-86, a bylaw to amend bylaw 2020-05 of the Corporation of the City of Pembroke, being a bylaw to regulate the use of lands and the character, location, and use of buildings and structures in the City of Pembroke, be adopted and passed, and further that said bylaw be signed by the mayor and clerk and sealed with the seal of the corporation. Thank you.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Keel, seconded by Councillor Lafreniere, that bylaw 2025-86, a bylaw to amend bylaw 2020-05 of the Corporation of the City of Pembroke, being a bylaw to regulate the use of lands and the character, location, and use of buildings and structures in the City of Pembroke, be adopted and passed, and further the said bylaw be signed by the mayor and clerk and sealed with the seal of the corporation. Councillor Keel, did you wish to speak to it?
Your Worship, this is a bylaw to amend our zoning bylaw for the property known as 422 Maple Street. This was previously discussed at planning and at a public meeting and at the Planning Advisory Committee.
Thank you. Call the question. Those in favor? That is carried. Next is 2025-87, Councillor Lafreniere, Fire Marquee City of Pembroke User Agreement.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Ian Keel, that bylaw 2025-87, a bylaw to authorize the entering into an agency agreement between the City of Pembroke and Fire Marquee Incorporated be adopted and passed. And further that the said bylaw be signed by the mayor and clerk and sealed with the seal of the corporation.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Lafreniere, seconded by Councillor Keel, that bylaw 2025-87, a bylaw to authorize the entering into of an agency agreement between the City of Pembroke and Fire Marquee Inc. be adopted and passed, and further that the said bylaw be signed by the mayor and clerk and sealed with the seal of the corporation. Councillor Lafreniere.
Yes, this was covered in an earlier meeting. This bylaw will complete an agreement between the City of Pembroke and Fire Marquee. This is just one way that the Pembroke Fire Department will recover some costs that are incurred if they do get a call to a fire. And it's money that is already it's already there in a pool at the insurance company level. They just never had to pay it out. So we are going to find those revenues and put them in our fire department coffers. Thank you.
Thank you. Call the question. Those in favor? That is carried. Next is 2025-88, Integrity Commissioner Agreement Extension Bylaw. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Your Worship. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Ed Giacono, that bylaw 2025-88, a bylaw to authorize the entering into an amending agreement with Bench Municipal Law plus Governance for Integrity Commissioner and closed meeting investigator services be adopted and passed, and further, that the said bylaw be signed by the mayor and clerk and sealed with the seal of the corporation.
Thank you. Moved by Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Giacono, the bylaw 2025-88, a bylaw to authorize the entering into of an amending agreement with Bench Municipal Law and Governance for Integrity Commissioner and closed meeting investigator services be adopted and passed, and further the said bylaw be signed by the mayor and clerk and sealed with the seal of the corporation. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Your Worship. This bylaw extends the current contract for service with Bench Municipal, excuse me, for the provision of Integrity Commissioner and closed meeting investigator services for an additional 3 years as approved at the November 4th, 2025 Finance Administration Committee meeting.
Okay, thank you. Call the question. Those in favor? That is carried. Next is, and the last one for this evening, 2025-89, CSRIF Stream Repair and Rehabilitation. Councillor Giacono.
Thank you, Your Worship. Members of Council, moved by myself and seconded by Deputy Mayor Abdallah, that bylaw 2025-89, a bylaw to authorize the entering into of a contribution agreement for the Community Sport and Recreation Infrastructure Fund, known as CSRIF, between His Majesty the King in Right of Ontario and the Corporation City of Pembroke be adopted and passed, and further that said bylaw be signed by the Mayor and Clerk and sealed with the seal of the Corporation, and awaiting your signature, Your Worship.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Giacono, seconded by the Deputy Mayor, that bylaw 2025-89, a bylaw to authorize the entering into of a contribution agreement for the Community Sport and Recreation Infrastructure Fund, CSRIF, between His Majesty the King, Right of Ontario, and the Corporation of the City of Pembroke be adopted and passed, and further, the said bylaw be signed by the Mayor and Clerk and sealed with the seal of the Corporation. Councillor Giacono.
Thank you, Your Worship. This grant agreement was endorsed at the November 18th, 2025 Parks and Recreation Committee meeting and provides funding for the redeveloping waterfront trailhead project.
Thank you. Call the question. Those in favor? That is carried. 2025-90 having been withdrawn, there is one item for correspondence being included in your package, AOR's Fall 2025, bringing us to my report for this evening. Regarding invitations, appearances, and other matters, on November 19th, I attended the Horticultural Christmas Banquet. The Hort Society is a great organization and does much for our community, which is why they are our strategic partner, one of them. I also took the opportunity to thank Jenny Bullcoles for her many years of service and to congratulate her on her retirement, having served in that capacity for 8+ years. On November 20th, I attended the kickoff of the Food and Toy Drive. I'm most proud of the Rotary Club of Pembroke as well as the Kiwanis Club of Pembroke for stepping forward yet again this year to run this event. Kudos to all the volunteers that are taking a shift, including our very own Pembroke Fire Department. Please join myself and all other volunteers by taking a shift to help out with this worthwhile event. It's unfortunate that there are individuals in our society that need a helping hand, but that's the least we can do. On November 25th, I had the pleasure of attending the Renfrew County Economic Development Summit to bring greetings together with representation from the MPP as well as from the warden. It's always great to host an event here, a conference here in the beautiful city of Pembroke, and remind everyone of the great place that we get to live in. On November 26th, I had the pleasure of attending the grand opening of Effortless Hues located on McGee Street. Please pay Natasha a visit and get your hair desires completed for those that still have hair. On November 28th, I was at the PBI Christmas tree lighting together with Councillor Keel, and I'm going to let him speak to it. I'm just always enlightened. I'm always heartened to see other members of our council getting out there and attending various community events and participating in our community. Also on that date, staff and I attended to welcome Iris Daisley Candle Company and to recognize their one-year anniversary in the Pembroke Muse. So I want to congratulate the owner there for hitting the one-year milestone, at least one-year milestone in a bricks and mortar situation. I understand that she had been operating her business originally as a home-based business, and so she's clearly doing well. That brings us to the Christmas parade, and I know that there's many individuals around the table that want to speak to it. And again, my sentiments said earlier that I'm always just full of joy to see that a number of different members of our council getting out there and attending different events and a variety of different impacts and different ways of contributing back to our community. November 30th, I was able to take in the Christmas market at our other strategic partner, being the Heritage Centre. And I just want to say, please support all of these local vendors who make it their mission to sell their wares at these different markets. And so it's just always nice to see individuals putting their passion forward and making some money while at it. On that occasion, our MPP Deneau, also formally made the announcement of a Trillium grant that our Heritage Centre has received, which was much needed. As we were talking earlier about infrastructure, well, that museum requires funds to keep the roof literally from leaking, and so it was nice to welcome them to our community and to make that announcement. Yesterday, the CAO and I attended a meeting at the Ontario Legislature of the Eastern Ontario Mayor's Caucus. We had about 50% of our Eastern Ontario Mayor's Caucus present. We got an opportunity to meet with various MPPs, as well as Minister Clark, present items of concern to single-tier municipalities. That's what the Eastern Ontario Mayor's Caucus is about. And so for our particular area, two items I was trying to get across, and I know the CAO was joining me in this. Two particular items is Highway 17 and the twinning, as well as the impact our colleges have on our local communities and the issues that our local community colleges are having, particularly when the federal government made their announcement in terms of international students and the reduction in that. I think we were extremely well received, and certainly the EOMC will continue to advocate for our community together with the other single-tier municipalities in our region. As for other matters, I want to take this time to thank staff for their great work in addressing the water main break that we were discussing earlier. I want to thank them for their professionalism and as well as for keeping the public informed as to what was taking place. I also want to recognize, I always like to recognize residents in our community for their achievements. And at this time, want to congratulate Sierra Levesque, a resident of the city of Pembroke, in launching her new album. I haven't opened it yet because I haven't determined whether or not I want to break the plastic, and hence the value of this, what I'm holding in my hand. I have a record player. LPs are making a comeback, and my understanding is the record is actually, it glows in the dark. So I have that from her father, that it's a neon kind of green. But again, I'm debating whether to open it, because when you buy it, you can also download the music so I can listen to it a different way. On another note, I wish to inform council of something that I'm happy for this gentleman, but at the same time sad for our community, and that is that Inspector Newfield has been promoted to Superintendent of East Region. We've been well served by Inspector Newfield, who has initiated many initiatives since he became our inspector. And now we will move forward with the hiring process to proceed in due course, replacing this inspector and detachment commander. I'm sure that we will continue to hear from him in his new role, but as I say, it's with mixed feelings in the sense that it's nice to see him progress to the next level in his career, but at the same time, we will be losing such a dialed-in gentleman. I want to congratulate Pembroke firefighters on their recent chili campaign. I know that many individuals purchased chili because they raised over $3,500. And certainly, again, it's that type of staff that just simply keep on giving. They don't need to. They can just simply do their job and go home at night, but they don't. They continue to do things for our community. And as always, stay safe and be kind to one another. Are there any notices of motion this evening? Seeing none. Are there councillor updates? Got to be someone. Councillor Lafreniere.
Just briefly, I want to say congratulations to everyone who took part in the parade. I know Councillor Keel, Deputy Mayor, we were active in the parade for either judging or hosting. But I want to say big shout out to city staff. They put a lot of work into it, and big shout out to the sponsors that make it possible. The sidewalks were lined with people, and you know, it just brings the Christmas spirit into the community and into our hearts. And yeah, that's it. And I just want to commend Councillor Keel for being so involved in the Christmas tree lighting as well downtown. I didn't make it that night, but it looked really good. I had a look at the pictures afterwards. And finally, Festival Hall, I want to thank them for organizing the youth theater, and it was under the direction of, I don't know if she goes by Karen Walsh or Karen Jeffrey, but Karen did a wonderful job herding these children. There was two groups, one was under 10, one was 10 and up. They had their performances last night, and two of my granddaughters were involved. But great job the Festival Hall is doing. As you know, Councillor Keel is always updating us on what's happening there. So a great job, and I guess they're going to be continuing that program with some small changes, but congratulations. Dorian's really spearheading a lot of good projects down there. So thank you.
Thank you. Other Councillor Keel?
Thank you, Your Worship. I also, things get busy here around this time of year, don't they? So I was happy to participate in the Tim Hortons Smile Cookie program on November 21st, raising money for our local hospital, which of course is always in need of a helping hand. Later that night, the Germania Club's annual Chris Kindle Mart, of course a wonderful annual event that we have here with many local crafters, and there was some food goods and some other things, so it's always great to be at the Germania Hall. On November 29th, of course, we did have the Santa Claus Parade, and judging the parade is, it's both fun but a little onerous too, because you don't really get to enjoy the parade as floats are passing you and you're trying to mark all the different criteria. But Your Worship, this year there were some absolutely fantastic floats, some standouts for me. We had a concrete mixer that had lights wrapped around the entire spinning around. That was an amazing one. There was another float that had a live band on it, and that really adds certainly some enthusiasm and whatnot to the parade. So thank you goes out to everybody that participated. Our dance clubs, of course, were involved, and it's just it's such a fun night, and I know we all look forward to it every year. Councillor Lafreniere was just talking about the Festival Hall theater program. So Dorian Pierce and Kitchissippi Productions, as part of their proposal, certainly proposed having more, well, I think for the first time actually having programming. There was March break programs, there was summer theater camps, and now there's a Monday night theater program. So it's introducing youth to the theater, and last night's event was entitled Monologue, and the students were absolutely amazing. Their memory is far better than mine. Reading off a number of monologues from memory. I think we certainly have, including in Councillor Lafreniere's family, I think we have some budding theater arts participants. In terms of a festival hall update, Canadian Steam was a Canadian-centered comedy show that was at Festival Hall last week. One of the gentlemen advised us from the stage that he was from Deep River, so he was actually a local person. I think it's one of those events that I think not everybody knew what to expect, but if they come back, I would highly encourage people to attend. It was absolutely hilarious from start to finish. I would be happy to see those guys again. Immediately this past weekend, Festival Hall was actually very busy. There was an Eagles tribute band on Friday, and then a Pink Floyd and Led Zeppelin tribute bands on Saturday. I was there volunteering both nights, and the feedback from both shows was absolutely amazing. In terms of upcoming shows, on Saturday, December 6th, the Pembroke Symphony Orchestra's Christmas special. This is always a very well-attended PSO event. The Fitzgeralds are there next Wednesday, the 10th, with a Canadian Christmas. Adios Dance Studio has their winter performance on Saturday, the 13th of December. Dogs Do Magic, A Canine Christmas, is there on Sunday, December 14th. Wayne Rodstad is back on Wednesday, the 17th. Les Chiclets on Entente Noël. How was that, Deputy Mayor? It was good. So we have a French program coming on Thursday, the 18th of December. And so far, I believe that closes out the year, and then everything's back with a number of January things already on the calendar. Of course, you can go to festivalhall.ca to check out and buy tickets.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
Your Worship, just a few things here. Yeah, Crystal Kindle Mart was fabulous. Want to congratulate the Germania Club and encourage everyone to support all these craft fairs going on this time of year. A shout out to Nita at Thai Garden. She is doing her community soup again this year, every second Saturday. Mary and I sponsored one. She's looking for sponsors, and you can go and get a free bowl of soup, and you can leave a donation if you want to pay it forward, or just enjoy a free bowl of soup on a cold day to warm your soul. So Nita does so much for the community that, you know, she's got a heart of gold at Thai Gardens. Plus delicious Thai food, right? On behalf of the Recreation Department, we started this a number of years ago, and there was enough money left in the budget to have the senior Christmas concerts with Louis Schreier and friends, and it'll be next weekend, December 12th and 13th. Louis is a 4-time Canadian Grandmaster fiddle champion, and he brings along a lot of local talent, and it's going to be on the 12th and 13th at 7 senior retirement homes in 2 days. And if councillors want to go and introduce the group, contact Megan Cadlick at the Parks and Rec Department. I'll be going to Supple's Landing at 10:30 next Saturday, but there's all openings for other councillors to go, so just give Megan a contact. Sunday, we attended the Pembroke Community Choir Christmas concert, an annual event, and they presented the Magnificat by John Ruttell, the first staff, and you know, it was so powerful, and they had their stage orchestra there, and all the choir under the direction of Gerald LeRonde and pianist Darlene Turmarsh, and they had 2 capacity crowds. They had one earlier in the day. And you talk about volunteers. Pembroke Community Choir, exceptional performances, and right at Calvary United Church. So we want to send congratulations and thanks to them. Another great community group. I got the tail end of the downtown tree lighting, so thank you to the sponsors and everyone. And that was a beautiful tree that they have, like awesome. And I had some hot chocolate. We did some shopping for the Moonlight Madness, and we want to congratulate Sipsters on their 3rd anniversary, Lisa and Julie. And I ran into Santa Claus, and we had a little chat in front of Town and Country, And we were talking about buy local, how important it is to buy local. And Santa agrees, not just in downtown Pembroke, but Pembroke Mall, Weston Plaza, everywhere in our community. Because local businesses support local jobs, pay taxes, as we all know. And it's so important to support local this time of year. So we want to encourage everyone to buy local. And Santa says, you know, Merry Christmas to all. And the downtown looks beautiful, as does the whole community. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Jacquinot.
Thank you, Your Worship. I was pleased to represent you for the opening of the Chris Kindle Mart. Ironically, when we were speaking with the executive, I was there for the first one, when they had the first Chris Kindle Mart in Pembroke. So I'm starting to age myself, I guess. A couple other little things. Again, the tree for the Christmas tree lighting. I sent that to my cousin in Prague in the Czech Republic, and she sent me back a little email saying, Christmas in Pembroke is magical. So, I mean, with that's coming from a cosmopolitan city, and if you've ever been in Prague at Christmas, you'll know it's just spectacular. But we have that small town feel, that magical feel, and that's what people get from our community. Just a wonderful thing. On a more somber note, just to mention the passing of Dr. Ron Lloyd, who left our community. To his wife, Kate, and their family, our deepest condolences. If you knew Ron, he had that aristocratic British air about him, but he had a heart, you know, the size of this room. He instilled confidence in his patients. They loved him. And not only did he care about their physical needs, he also cared about their personal, mental concerns, you know. So if they had a problem, they could confer with him. He was the ultimate physician. He'll be missed within our community. And as we said earlier, you know, trying to find doctors for the community, this man will leave a big hole. He was a member of the Knights of Columbus. He was a Quanian, I believe. He did a lot of work in the background. He was a great fishing buddy with Fred Blackstein. And the Knights of Columbus, they had their men's singing group, the Singing Knights, joined the choir as a tribute to him. He played many instruments. I think his favorite was the banjo. He played the piano, the violin, harmonica, you name it. But I think his favorite was the banjo. He was also a member of the intermittent singing group and traveled to you know, many facilities, the seniors' homes, the rehab at the hospital, to make people's life a little better. So to Kate and the family, Kate, we're thinking of you, and Dr. Lloyd, thank you for your commitment to Pembroke. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is closed session. Councillor Frenier, I understand you have a bylaw to move into closed session.
Motion for, moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Ian Keel, that this meeting become a closed meeting to discuss labor relations or employee negotiations as it relates to fire negotiations.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Frenier, seconded by Councillor Keel, that this meeting become a closed meeting to discuss labor relations or employee negotiations as it relates to fire negotiations. Those in favor? That is carried. We'll now move into a closed session.